Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Ajmal, can you hear me? Or there's a chat at the bottom left-hand corner. Okay. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for everyone to join in, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Mansoor, mashallah. Inshallah, we've got the presentation in front of you online. Oh, okay. So we've got a presentation online, but you could also perhaps see it behind. I'm not sure whether you could see it behind, so because we've got some on-site students as well. So, but I think it's probably best to kind of like see the presentation, which is in front, inshallah. Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to wait. So both of you from France, yeah? France, yeah. Oh, okay, no, it's okay. You don't have to speak the mic. Both from France. But you could understand the English, though, yeah? That's fine. So what we'll do is we'll just wait another couple of minutes. I think we're expecting some of the brothers and sisters just to be joining. So as soon as they come, inshallah, we will start, inshallah. But obviously, we're not going to wait too long for them because there's a lot to cover. So I don't want to waste too much time, inshallah. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah. We're just going to start now, inshallah. We don't want to wait too long, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. On behalf of Darul Ilm Birmingham. We would like to welcome all the brothers who are here online and also the brothers who are here on site for this Fiqh of Hajj course. Hajj is one of the obligations of the Sharia. There are 5 things which make up the pillars of Islam, and one of them is Hajj. And today's course or program will be centered more around the procedure and the method of performing Hajj. Now, Hajj is, as they say, once in a lifetime journey. Many brothers and sisters do go Hajj more than once, but I think for the majority, it'll tend to be once in a lifetime. Many reasons why, which we don't need to go into today, such as the cost of Hajj year by year constantly increasing. And also, the more older you go, the more difficult it becomes to perform Hajj. You know, the last time I went to Hajj was 2006, 2007. And it's been 12 years. Now, I always make intention, yes, next year, but then we get busy with teaching, with da'wah. Then we have family, we have children. It's very difficult. So the point I'm trying to make is that Hajj for many of us will be once in a lifetime thing. Once in a lifetime. So it is, I'll say, imperative and important that we learn the masails of Hajj properly. We do it properly. It's not like, let's just do it and then we make some mistakes and, oh, do you know what? Next year we'll do it again. Because I said, for many of us, there won't be a next year. So it's important that, inshallah, we learn about the rules properly, thoroughly, and we learn it in such a way that there aren't any mistakes in the Hajj which we are planning to perform. Now, in front of yourselves, we have some presentation. So what we're going to do is we're just going to follow the presentation, inshallah, and we'll just take it from there. Obviously, the idea of the course is to give everyone a overview of how to perform Hajj. If anybody has any questions, then obviously I'm here to kind of answer. But also will recommend all the brothers and sisters, well, the brothers who are here, to kind of read up on the topic of Hajj. Many books, many articles have been written by reputable shuyukhs and scholars. So inshallah, you need to do your own research and tahqiq and studies so that you're able to understand this topic properly. Now, inshallah, because it is a course, so it's more like a teaching rather than a lecture. So inshallah, I want the course to be interactive. So inshallah, every slide or every couple of points, I will ask brothers, do you have any questions? Or if you are unsure about anything, then by all means, use the chat system at the bottom and inshallah, I'll try to answer you. So in other words, we'll try to make it flexible. So it's not like a lecture that I'm just going to lecture for 2 hours, 3 hours. Inshallah, we're just going to go over it, inshallah, and we'll take it from there. Now, the first bullet point or the first slide we're going to look at is Hajj. Upon whom Hajj is first. So the first condition is Hajj is obligatory on a free meaning someone who is free means that he's not a slave. Same person, and also at the same time on a healthy adult. So if someone is disabled, then Hajj would not be farz or obligatory upon him. The next bullet point is a woman needs to have a mahram or a husband to perform the Hajj. So a woman, she needs to have a mahram. Or if she's married, a husband to perform Hajj. Other schools of thought differ, like Imam Shafi rahimahullah says that if the woman is traveling with a group of other trustworthy women, then that's okay. That's Imam Shafi's opinion. In the Hanafi fiqh, we say that needs to be a mahram or, the very least, a husband to perform the Hajj. The question which may arise here is, just imagine a woman, she got the means to go for Hajj, but then she doesn't have a mahram for her entire life. That could be the case, can't it? Sometimes it does happen where she wants to go for Hajj, but her children are not practicing, they don't want to go. Her husband's not practicing, he doesn't want to go for Hajj. So what happens in that situation? So the rule, brothers and sisters, is in that situation is that if a woman does not have a mahram for her entire life, then when she passes away, she has to make a wasiyah. She has to make a bequest that somebody perform Hajj on my behalf. She has to make a will. We call this Hajj badal. That somebody would have to then perform Hajj on her behalf. So that is a rule with regards to a woman. But generally speaking, these are the conditions, and then an additional condition for a woman is she needs to have a mahram or a husband. Any question regarding this particular slide? But there's any questions, or you're okay with that? Okay, good. You have a question, Brother Mansoor? Okay. As I said, those who just joined now, Brother Muhammad, inshallah, we're just going over the slide, so it's very interactive. So inshallah, if you have any questions, then by all means, feel free to ask. Again, in the Hanafi fiqh, she would not be allowed to go for Hajj without a mahram. So if she's not married, no brother, she wants to go for a Hajj alone, she won't be able to will be allowed. As I said, other schools of thought, like Imam Shafi rahimahullah, allows it, but not in the Hanafi fiqh. Yes, so what she'll have to do is she'll have to be patient until she either gets married or like she finds a mahram. And remember, the mahram doesn't have to be a believer, by the way, because this is a condition of a journey. Yeah, this is a condition of a journey. She doesn't even have to be a believer. So even if it's like a non-believing mahram, I just say if she's a revert, then she could actually, that non-believing mahram, like a non-Muslim father, a non-Muslim brother, can accompany her. They could fly into Jeddah. He could stay in Jeddah, and then she could go, because from Jeddah to Mecca is less than 48 miles. So she could go and then perform the Hajj. And then afterwards, when the Hajj finishes, then he can then take her home. Yeah. If she's Maliki, again, I don't want to comment regarding the Maliki school of thought, because as far as I know, they are similar to the Hanafis, and that is that they need to have mahram, from my understanding. Obviously, I said the course is going to be mainly on the Hanafi school of thought. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. A couple of hadiths here, which I'm sure many of you brothers are aware of, talks about the virtues of Hajj. And straightforward, just explains. Number one, the first hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-Umratu ila al-Umrah, which means that Umrah is an expiation for the sins committed between it and the previous Umrah. So in other words, if somebody went for Umrah and then he performed another Umrah, then it goes on to explain that the sins in between, the minor sins in between, it will be an expiation for that. And then he says, Wal Hajjul Mabrur, and the accepted Hajj, Laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-Jannah. For it, there is no reward except Jannah. So inshallah, we all want to do an accepted Hajj. We're all doing Hajj this year. Why we're doing Hajj, brothers, is so that we want it to be accepted and we can enter Jannah with that. Let's move on to the next slide. Again, another fadilat, another virtue of performing Hajj. Prophet ﷺ said, Man hajja falam yarfuth. The one who performs Hajj and he does not have intercourse with his wife. Obviously, that is when he's in the state of ihram. Doesn't even think about intercourse, even like speaking in a vulgar way. That's not allowed. Walam yafsuk, and he does not transgress. Raja'a ka yawmin waladatu ummuhu. He will return like the day his mother have given birth to him. In other words, he will return back home, back to the UK, back to Birmingham, back to London, or like in the case of some of the brothers here, back to France, and he will be sinless, ma'soom, a new beginning. And that's why we see, alhamdulillah, a lot of brothers when they go for Hajj, a lot of sisters when they go for Hajj, they come back, subhanAllah, they're like a new person. It's like literally their mother has given birth to them, sinless, ma'soom. And they kind of like really spiritually enhance themselves. They become even more better individuals. That's why we say it's a journey of a lifetime, a life-changing journey. So it's important that we kind of know exactly how to do everything for it to be accepted. Which then takes us on to the next point, which is kind of important. And I think everybody needs to know, because I'm sure this hadith of Hajj Mabrur, accepted Hajj, you probably heard many scholars, many imams talk about accepted Hajj. But what is exactly meant by accepted? When we say accepted Hajj, what do we exactly mean by accepted Hajj? So let's have a look at some of the definitions of accepted Hajj. Number one is a Hajj free of sin, i.e. conducted with full obedience to Allah. So one definition of Hajj Mabrur, accepted Hajj, is that it is free of sin. Yes, so we go for Hajj, we make sure that we do it properly. Free of sin, you might think you want Mufti Saab or Sheikh who's going to be doing sins in Hajj, but you'll be surprised. People go there, they backbite about people, they slander about people. Yes, they may not be doing sins of zina and thieving and gambling and those types of sins. Yes, but we're talking about other sins. Backbiting is the worst one. Even sometimes fighting, people, lose their rag when they go for Hajj. They start arguing, disputing with people. Yes, sometimes the tour operators may have promised you a lot of things, and you go there and realize that actually they haven't promised you anything. So yes, you may get frustrated, understand that, because you paid and you're not getting that service and so on. And yes, so you may be a bit frustrated, but sometimes, you know what, we just have to do sabr. We have to be patient, and we have to acknowledge that, you know what, this is like a test from Allah. This is all part of the journey. So free from sins, Also, number two, a Hajj performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure only and not to show off. So, Hajj performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure. That's another definition of Hajj Mabrur. Like you're doing it solely for the sake of Allah. It's not for like name or fame that, oh, I'm doing Hajj so that you could go around and tell everyone I'm a Haji. You know, that's also very common within the Indian subcontinent kind of people that, you know, they think when they go for Hajj, they come back and they attach the title Haji, you know, Haji Sahib and these things. So remember, that's not the reason or the purpose why you're doing Hajj for. You're doing Hajj with the intention to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next point to mention is a Hajj performed in accordance with the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And a fourth kind of explanation of the term Hajj Mabrur is that a Hajj performed according to Sunnah. This is why we're doing this course today. And just do the next part and then I'll explain it together. A Hajj which is not followed by disobedience. But let me just explain about Hajj according to Sunnah. You see this a lot when we go for Hajj. Is a lot of people always look for the leeway. You see a lot of people, they'll be doing blatant makruh, the very least makruh actions whilst they're in Hajj. They're looking for leeways, they're looking for rukhsah. You know, as soon as they know you're a Mufti or you're a Sheikh or you're an Imam or you're an Alim in the group, you'll see they'll come and constantly ask you, oh, Mufti Sahib, is there a way around this? SubhanAllah, this is the Sunnah. This is the way to perform the Hajj. But yet they'll still go around and say that is there a way around things? Is there a loophole here? Do we have to stay in Miah? Do we have to spend the night in Muzdalifah? Do we have to do this? Do we have to do that? So you should understand, brothers, that it's once in a lifetime. And for our Hajj to be accepted, it needs to be according to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the last point is also important, is a Hajj which is not followed by disobedience. Like another way of determining whether the Hajj is Hajj Mabrur or not, whether it is a accepted Hajj or not, is, you know, after you come back, like you change your life, you don't go into disobedience. It's okay, fair enough, we may do sins because no one's masoom and sinless, but what happens is that when you return back, you don't go into those evil things again which you had done before. So that is a sign of accepted Hajj. You get some people that go for Hajj, they come back, and then 2-3 days later, they'll go back to the old ways again. So that is a sign, unfortunately, for us anyway. Again, whether it's accepted or not, Allah knows best. But for us, it's a sign that unfortunately the Hajj was not accepted. So in a nutshell, this particular slide is telling us that the purpose of why we're doing this course, purpose why you've given up your Sunday afternoon to attend, whether online or on site, is to basically learn about the procedure of Hajj, to learn about the tariqah of Hajj. And the overall goal of the Hajj is for it to be a accepted Hajj. This is what we want. We want Allah to accept our Hajj. And that can only be done, inshallah, if we listen carefully to what's going to be said today. We learn all the rules properly, and more importantly, we do it according to Sunnah. As I said already, it's a once in a lifetime journey. We're spending a lot of money to go for Hajj. So the Hajj shouldn't be done in a way that we're looking for loopholes. We're looking for ways around it. We're looking for the rukhsah. We should try our best to do azima. Azima means like the most preferable, the most encouraged, the most sunnah of each ritual, not looking for the rukhsah. Unless obviously it's difficult, then it's different. Allah gives tawfiq. Any questions, brothers, on the couple of slides which we have looked at thus far? The rest of the brothers, Brother Mansoor, Brother Muhammad. There's a chat system at the bottom left-hand corner where it says say something. You can ask questions there. No. Okay, let's move on. Now the next slide which we have in front of us, slide number 6 is called the types of Hajj, the categories of Hajj. Now, there are 3 types of Hajj, and based on what Hajj you're going to be performing, then the following rules will be mentioned accordingly. So in a nutshell, there are 3 types of Hajj. Number 1 is called Tamattu Hajj. Tamattu. And definition of Tamattu Hajj is it is Umrah and then Hajj during the months of Hajj in separate ihrams. So in other words, you make the intention that you want to do Umrah first. So you put on ihram. Again, topic of ihram we're going to look at later. So you put on the ihram. After you perform your Umrah, you then release yourself by shaving your hair. And then, before the 8th of Zulhijjah, when the days of Hajj starts, you then put on ihram for Hajj. And thereafterwards, you make intention of Hajj. You then perform your Hajj, and then you release yourself from ihram at the end. And this form of Hajj, brothers and sisters, requires a Hajj, requires a sacrifice, requires a Qurbani. Again, this Qurbani, by the way, is separate from the yearly Qurbani which we give. That's a different topic. But for this, you have to do a Qurbani. Qurbani is wajib. So that in a nutshell is what we call Tamattu Hajj. No, for Tamattu is only one. Yeah, you just do the one. Qiran, you do 2. Yeah, so Qiran, you do 2. But for the Tamattu, you just do the one, inshallah. Yeah, one will be necessary. Okay, then the next point to mention is Qiran. Now, Qiran is Umrah and then Hajj during the months of Hajj. So during the months of Hajj in one ihram. So that also requires a hadi and a sacrificial animal as well. So that is also for a sacrificial animal. So you also need a sacrificial animal in that situation. So for Tamattu, Qiran. Now Qiran, the way it differs is that for Qiran, you're putting on your ihram at the beginning, and then you're basically staying in the ihram. So after you perform your umrah, you're staying in your ihram all the way until 8th of Zulhijjah, and then after the 8th of Zulhijjah, you're still in ihram, and then what you're doing, brothers, is that you then stay until the 10th, where you then release yourself, and because of that reason, you then have to sacrifice a qurbani animal as well. Why do you have to sacrifice a qurbani animal for tamattu Hajj and for Qiran Hajj? The reason why is you are doing 2 in 1. You're performing Umrah and Hajj in one go. Generally speaking, you're supposed to have done the Umrah separately and the Hajj separately. Yep. But as I said, you're doing 2 in 1 in a way. You're doing 2 in 1. So because you're doing 2 in 1, and in one journey, you're performing the Umrah and you're also performing the Hajj. That's why as a thankfulness, the rule is that you basically should perform a sacrifice. Yeah, you perform a sacrifice. So that's like the rule in that situation. And the third category of Hajj is called Ifrad Hajj. And Ifrad is, as you can see, is just to perform Hajj during the months of Hajj. That's it. Just Hajj. No Umrah, nothing like that. So you do other things like Tawaf Qudum, these things, and so on, which I will explain in due course. But it's only Hajj during the months of Hajj. And for this, it goes on to explain it does not require a Hajj. It doesn't require a sacrificial animal. It doesn't require a sacrificial animal. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Yeah, in Qiran you need 2. You need 2. Tamattu you just need the 1. So Qiran you need 2. Tamattu you need the 1 and so on. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the next part. Any other further questions anybody has, or everybody okay with the information so far? Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the next part, inshallah. Miqat. Okay, so let's just make it a bit interactive. So the brothers who are going for Hajj this year, what are you doing? Are you doing Tamattu or are you doing Qiran? What are you brothers doing? Okay. So that will then mean if you're traveling from France, so I'm assuming you're going to be stopping over somewhere, or you're going direct flight to Jeddah? A direct flight. So that will then mean that before you arrive at Jeddah, you need to be in the state of Ihram, isn't it? Yeah. So, so if somebody was doing like a stopover somewhere, like in Dubai or in Turkey, or if you're going with Lufthansa to Germany, then you probably may need to change into Ihram there and then go into flying to Jeddah. So we'll look at that inshallah. It's coming up. So obviously, it is in the Hanafi fiqh anyway. It's considered to be more virtuous to do Qiran Hajj. That's more virtuous because there's more difficulty, there's more mushaqqat and these things. So it's actually much better to do like a Qiran Hajj than say a Tamattu Hajj. But alhamdulillah, both are correct, whichever one you decide to do. Now, the next topic to mention is regarding the miqat. Now, miqat is like a boundary. It's like a boundary. So you're not allowed to cross that boundary. Yeah, you're not allowed to cross that boundary without being in the state of ihram. So I think the best kind of like example to give here is like, you know, the same way you have in a masjid, that you're not allowed to cross you're not allowed to like cross the like a certain part of the masjid without you, with your shoes on, because it's against the sanctity. It's against the sanctity of the haram or of the masjid. Likewise, think of it to be the case when it comes to the miqat. Certain area you're not allowed to cross without being in the state of ihram. And this goes for Hajj and also Umrah as well. So when you're doing Umrah or somebody doing Tamattu Hajj, so you're going to be making intention Umrah firstly. So before you arrive at the border, which I'll show you a picture of on the next slide, you can't be not in the state of ihram. In other words, you have to be in the state of ihram. Look at the next bullet point. A Muslim intending Hajj or Umrah who crosses the miqat without ihram must return to the miqat and make ihram from there. If he or she does not return and make ihram from miqat, then one must offer a sacrifice, like a dam, a penalty. One will have to sacrifice that. So again, when we intend to go for Hajj or Umrah, we should basically make sure that before we arrive at the miqat, we're already in the state of ihram. If we cross the boundaries of the miqat and we are not in the state of ihram, then in that situation, we have to return back and then make intention and go. But if we don't return back, then in that situation, a penalty sacrifice would have to be given. And that penalty sacrifice, we call that a dam. Is it only during the month of Hajj or is it all year round? Again, it depends. If, say, for example, if you are doing Umrah, then yes, if you are crossing the miqat, you have to cross in the state of ihram. If you are, say, for example, not with the intention of Umrah Hajj, but say, for example, with the intention of business. So like a lot of people, they may go to Jeddah for business. And that's the intention, just for business. Then in that situation, they don't have to be in state of ihram. Like I was just joking with a group of students before the course we just had now. We're just having now is, like there was that concert, wasn't it? In Jeddah. So there's a concert in Jeddah last week, I think it was. And they have, they're making Jeddah a bit more open for tourists, and they're having all these like fights and all these things going on, boxing matches. So people now who are now crossing the miqat, not with the intention of Umrah, Hajj, but for business or for other entertainment purpose, they don't have to enter in the state of ihram in that particular situation. Okay? Understood that? Okay, good. Now, as for the next paragraph, we could understand a bit more properly, inshallah. So, what we see in front of you is a map of where Jeddah is, where Medina Munawwara is, where Makkah is. We don't have to worry about the other miqats. I'm just going to explain to you two miqats. One is Medina Munawwara, which I've just circled, and one is Jeddah. And this is what we call the Red Sea. Now, when we are flying into Saudi, so as I said before, if we've stopped over in Egypt or Dubai or whatever it may be, or we just got a direct flight from London or from Paris, as you can see, so most of the time, most pilgrims will basically be arriving at Jeddah. So when we come to Jeddah, brothers and sisters, we're going to arrive in Jeddah. As you can see, Jeddah, the actual airport, is in fact in a place which is within the miqat. It's actually within the miqat. So we can't arrive in Jeddah, and from Jeddah airport, we put on our ihrams on. We have to basically put on our ihram before we arrive, because can you see, around Jeddah airport, you have these marks that they are considered to be the miqats. So actually Jeddah is inside the miqat. So when we arrive, we basically can't arrive without ihram. We have to already be in ihram. So I gave a couple of examples, like either what we can do, there's a few tips I could give here. Either some people, say from Paris or London, they'll put on the ihram from the actual airport. So you probably see them, they go to the bathroom and they kind of like come out, and then they'll have the men will have the two clothes. Obviously, because this side of the talk is for brothers only, so I'll just concentrate on the brothers. On the next door, we have the sisters doing theirs. So obviously, sisters related kind of information will be on the next door, or we've given you another link. Sisters information will be there. So I'll just concentrate on the brothers here, yeah? So basically, the brothers' ihram, again, it's coming up with just the two pieces, the shawl, and then you've got the izar, the lungi, which is tied like a waist wrapper. So sometimes people, they make the intention of ihram at the airport. So they actually come into the state of ihram. So that's fine. If they make that intention, they are in the state of ihram, but just be wary that throughout the trip, 6-7 hour journey, flight journey, you have to obviously abstain from the prohibitions of ihram, which we're going to look at later. Another tip, which I think will be more better, is what you can do is that from the airport, or even from home, you could actually put on your ihram. Put on your ihram. So that is, you actually wear the lungi and wear the shawl on top. Just wear it, but don't make the intention. So one good thing about that is you just worn it, and then obviously you could wear a coat on top. So you could just, obviously it may be cold, especially if you're traveling in the morning. So it may be cold. So you then basically put your coat on top, everything on top, and then afterwards you basically go to the airport. Even when you're on your flight, you could just have the coat on, because remember, by just wearing the two clothes, you're not in the state of ihram. So you could have that on, and it's only, say, when you are just about to approach the miqat, so just say you're over the Red Sea, you're about to descend down towards Jeddah, then what you can do, you can take off your coat. If you're wearing a hat, take that off, and you make the intention of ihram, and you make the intention of the umrah or the hajj you're planning to do. If you're doing tamattu, so you just be making intention of umrah. If you're doing qiran, then it's umrah and hajj. If it's say ifrad, then just of hajj. So you make that intention. So that is basically one way around, and I think that is the best way. Obviously, some brothers who may be stopping over, as said in Cairo or in Jordan, Amman, or other places, then in that situation, you could actually stop over there and make the intention. Like you can put on your ihram on from there, make intention, and then you'll be in the state of ihram. So there's obviously various ways around it. Obviously, my preference would be, in that situation, is the second option again. You just put on your clothes on, because sometimes it's a bit difficult. And a lot of people, they say, I put my ihram on from Jeddah, or sorry, from Dubai, or from here, from there. Thing is that when you go to these airports, it's like, you want to use the bathroom, yeah? There's like a queue of 100 people wanting to do the same thing. So you're kind of like stuck in a queue. And then sometimes, the change over from when you get off from one plane to another, the changeover, you don't have that much time. So when you don't have time, then, for you to quickly put an ihram, it's a bit of a chaos. So because of that reason, I'll just recommend that. Just put on your clothes on, or at the very least, put on your clothes on from the Paris airport, London airport. And then from there, you kind of make intention of, so don't make intention, just put your ihram clothes on, and then when you're a bit more near to Jeddah, then you can make the intention. So that is basically one way around it. Obviously, there's some other kind of travel arrangements. It could be the case that you may arrive in Jeddah first, but you're going to go to Medina Munawwara. In that case, you don't have to enter Jeddah with the state of ihram, or being in the state of ihram. That's not necessary. Okay? Because I remember when I went last time, this was my arrangement. So actually, it was actually by Egypt Air. So we flew into Cairo, and then from Cairo it was to Jeddah. But then the plan was that we're going to arrive in Jeddah, and then from Jeddah airport, we're going to take one of the smaller Saudi airlines from Jeddah airport to Medina Munawwara airport. So we were going to go to Medina Munawwara first, and then from Medina Munawwara, we were then going to plan to basically come back to Mecca for Hajj. So in that case, if you arrive in Jeddah airport first, but your intention is to go to Medina Munawwara, that's fine. You could arrive without ihram. Because remember, your intention isn't to go to Mecca for Hajj or for Umrah, is it? So you could arrive in Jeddah, and then from Jeddah, you could then fly towards Medina. You could arrive in Jeddah without ihram in that situation. Okay? I'll give you another scenario. Just imagine you're flying to Medina Munawwara. You can also fly to Medina Munawwara as well. I think Emirates do that. So you probably may fly from London to Dubai, and then from Dubai with one of the smaller planes, fly Dubai, I think it is called. They then take you to Medina Munawwara. So again, if you're going to Medina Munawwara first, that's fine. That's easy. Medina Munawwara airport, as you can see, it's outside the miqat, so that's easy. So then in that situation, where you would put your ihram on from would be from Zul Hulayfa. Yes, so when you're ready to now make your way towards Mecca for Hajj, so if you're going to Medina Munawwara first, and then you're going to be in Medina for a few days, then you're going to arrive in Mecca. So the rule is that from Medina Munawwara, you stop over at Zul Hulayfa, and then there's a masjid there. You pray your 2 rakat Salatul Ihram, and then you make the intention of Qiran or tamattu, and then you kind of travel towards Makkah. Again, some perhaps may, like before, put on their clothes on in the hotel in Medina Munawwara before they depart, and then afterwards they basically go to Zul Hulayfa, they pray the 2 rakat salah there, and then make the intention of Hajj. So that's like, I recommend that for sisters, but even for brothers as well, because again, same thing there as well. There'll be a lot of people, a lot of queues. So perhaps what you can do, you could just like put on your ihram clothes on, and then arrive in Zul Hulayfa, and then in Zul Hulayfa pray your 2 rakat salah, and then afterwards make the intention of Umrah or Hajj, or depending what you're doing, Qiran or Tamattu. Okay. Any questions? So I've kind of given you different scenarios, so I think we should be a bit more clear. Okay. Yeah, that's true. So yes, so that would be obviously the 2 rakat salah obviously is sunnah, isn't it? So yeah, you'd miss that out. Yes, so that would be the downside to that. Yeah. Yeah. What you can do is that you can pray it beforehand. Because remember, just by praying 2 rakat sunnah for ihram, it's not necessarily that straight away you have to basically enter into ihram or make intention of ihram. You could enter into ihram later. So you can pray, say, in Paris airport, London airport. You can do that. You can. Hajj from other countries can also do ifrad Hajj as well. Yeah, they can do it as well. It's not just for thingy. Yeah. No, they can do it. A lot of people have done it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. They could do ifrad Hajj as well. A lot of people still do it. Yeah. And a lot of people do it. Yeah. Indeed. Okay, let's look at the next part, inshallah. Okay, so that's slide number 8. Okay, so again, we have more further slides telling us a bit more about the miqat. So this line, which is around, that is called the miqat. And these are the places of miqat: Zul Hulayfa, Juhfa, Zatul Irq. Again, we don't have to worry about the other places. Jeddah, as you can see, is within the miqat. Now, remember these terms, we'll come back to them in a second. So this is Makkah right in the middle, yeah? This green area is called the Haram. Remember what I'm saying? It's called the Haram. And this light colored area is called the hill. So I'll touch on this later regarding and that is regarding something. We would have done 9 slides or so already.
Yeah, I was kind of watching it.
Oh, you brother Muhammad?
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, no problem. So as I was saying, everyone, that we have the the green area, which is the dark green. So that is called Haram. And the light green area, the light color you see there, that is called Hill. So remember these 2 terms. I'll mention it later, that when you are in Makkah, and if you plan to do, say, like an extra Umrah, this is after your Hajj finishes, or you've done Tamattu Hajj, so after you've done your Umrah, so you've got a few days before 7th or 8th of Zulhijjah, before your rituals of Hajj starts. So if in that situation, if you want to do any extra Umrahs, then you have to leave the Haram and go to Hill. So for example, your hotel may be in Mecca somewhere. So you have to basically leave Mecca, travel towards hill. So generally speaking, the brothers or sisters, they normally travel to Tan'im. There's a masjid there called Masjid Aisha. They kind of go there, but you don't have to go there. You can go anywhere. Some even go to Jirana. They go to Jirana by taxi or by bus. They put on their ihram on, and they afterwards then they come back to Makkah to perform just Umrah. So inshallah, we'll touch on that later when I talk about the Tamattu and the Qiran Hajj, or Tamattu Hajj actually. Okay. Now, as I've just been explaining, when we put on the ihram clothes, it doesn't mean that we are in the state of ihram. This is a grave misunderstanding a lot of the brothers and sisters have. They think that ihram is actually just on the clothes. Ihram is actually more on the niyyah and is more on intention and the type of hajj you're planning to do. So just wearing the two clothes doesn't necessarily mean that you are in the state of ihram. So just say, for example, as I've just been explaining, I'm not sure whether you got that information I was explaining to the brothers, when they go from London to, or from Paris to Jeddah airport, so they may put on the ihram clothes on at the airport, but that's fine. You're not considered to be in the state of ihram because you haven't made the intention. So if you just have the clothes on, then on top of that, you basically wear the like a jumper or a waistcoat or a coat on top, especially if you're traveling in the morning, maybe cold. That's fine. You don't have. There's no punishment for that. There's no restrictions for that. But you only come into the state of ihram when you make the intention and then you recite something called the talbiyah, which we'll be looking at later. Now, before we even get into that state, there's a few rules to mention, a few sunnahs to adhere to. And that is regarding ihram and what we should do before we arrive at the miqat. Or, okay, if we are putting on our ihram clothes, not intention, but putting on the clothes, say from the airport. So that will then mean that before we leave our house, what we should do. So to tell the truth, practically what would happen is we probably do these things before we leaving our house. So if we live in Birmingham and our flight is from London, so before we leave, we will perhaps do these things before we kind of leave. So the question here is that what are the things we should do? So some of these things are kind of straightforward: clipping the nails, removing pubic hair, armpit hair, taking a ghusl, a shower. So that is considered to be a sunnah. Perfume on your body, because remember, as soon as you come into the state of ihram, you're not allowed to do these things. So before you make that intention, you can do these things. You can clip your nails. You can apply perfume. You can even apply perfume according to Imam Abu Hanifa. Other scholars like Imam Malik, rahimahullah, disagrees. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, even the perfume which you basically apply before you come into the state of ihram, they can even be emitting. So emitting means like it could be very strong fragrance or fragrant kind of attar or deodorant. So even to the extent that after you make the intention of ihram, if that smell is still kind of like strong and people can smell it, that's fine, it's okay. Because you actually applied it before you came into the state of ihram. So even likewise here as well, that putting perfume on your body, head, beard, all these things would be allowed. And then he says, put ihram garments on, which is the shawl and the izar. So again, obviously we don't have any ihram clothes with us to show you, but I think more or less everybody knows. The bottom are known as the izar or lungi or waist wrapper. So you wear it like a lungi. Lungi is actually like a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the way. The Sahabas used to wear lungi. There are a couple of hadiths of Prophet ﷺ buying and wearing what we call bottoms or trousers. But generally speaking, it was a lungi. So basically, a lungi is just like, sometimes with a bath towel, we kind of wrap it around our waist. So that's what it is. And then the rida, the shawl, is basically a more like another piece of cloth, which we then wrap it around ourselves. And these are the two ihram clothes for men. Again, for women, it's different, but that's inshallah. Sisters next door will be discussing that. So, ihram clothes is rida for the men and izar for the men as well. Is there any particular fabric we need for ihram? So the answer is no. What normally people tend to do is they normally tend to take two types of ihram clothes with them. So they tend to have towels, those white towels, which obviously we have, especially if you go to hotels, they have those bigger ones. So you could wear that, that's fine. And people tend to use those thick towels, especially at night time, because it gets a bit cold. So especially when you are in your tents in Miah, Arafat, at night it gets a bit chilly. So you may want to wear that. And perhaps during the day, you may want to wear thinner one. And remember everyone, it's not necessary that you have to wear the same ihram clothes throughout the 1 week or 10 days you may be in ihram for. Because remember I said, ihram isn't just on the clothes, it's on the intentional talbiyah. So just say for example, if your ihram clothes after a while gets dirty, so that's fine, you can just change it, wear a new one. Or just say like some food fell on your ihram clothes, some salan, some curry. So there's a big like yellow stain on your ihram clothes. So again, you don't have to basically, go around wearing that same ihram clothes with the curry stain on. You could change it and wear another one. So what I would recommend all the brothers and sisters who are going, and brothers here, just take a few extra ihram clothes. So it's not necessarily you have to wear the same one throughout the 5 days, 6 days you may be in ihram in. You could like rotate, change, alternate, depending on the weather. If it's hot, then you may want to wear the thinner one. If it's cold, like it tends to be in the night time, then you may wear a thicker one. So it's entirely up to you, inshallah. Obviously, sunnah to wear the white colored ihram. Again, if somebody wore, say, a dark colored ihram or a blue colored ihram, so it'll be okay, like the Hajj will be done, but it'll be khilaf sunnah. The sunnah is to wear white, as mentioned in the hadith of Abu Dawud, the best clothes for your deceased and for the men is white. So based on that hadith, we say that it's a sunnah to wear ihram clothes to be white. That is considered to be sunnah as well. Yeah, ridan izar means an Arabic term. So ridan means the upper garment of the ihram, and izar means the lungi or the waist wrapper. If we look at the next part. Okay, any question before we go on to the next slide? Any question, Brother Muhammad?
With regards to taking stuff, you mentioned that you take extra on etc. when you go into Miah. I assume they have facilities for me to store things away, kind of thing.
Like,
I'm
are you
trying
talking
to work
about?
out how, I just take a bag and they're like, wait, I just store it.
Oh yeah, you could take. Obviously, don't take too many things, but you can take a bag. You can take, say, a rucksack of things, or you can take some things with you. Obviously, it will be protected. Obviously, there won't be any kind of like a safe or a security, but it'll be like the tent will be, say, size of this room. So when you go for your, say, Rami, or you go for Arafah, Muzdalifah, you can take the basic necessities. Obviously, something like mobile phones or anything like that, valuables, you just take it with you. But other things you can leave there, because no one's really gonna. They do have security in other people, so no one's gonna really steal or things like that.
More space. That's what I was asking.
Oh, yeah.
There will be space.
Yeah, there will be space. It's the first time we're going to Sunnah. Inshallah. Yeah, so yeah, there will be space. That's not a problem, inshallah. Again, ihram for women, as I said, I'm not going to really explain it too much because we have the sisters doing it next door, but I'll just add on what is mentioned or mention what is on this particular slide. So the same way it's a sunnah for men to perform ghusl before they come into ihram, it's also sunnah for a woman to shower or to have a ghusl before they come into ihram. And that is also the case if a woman is in a menstruation or she is in nifas, she should also perform a ghusl as well. So remember that ghusl she's taking is not for her to come out of a menstruation, but it's just for her to kind of like, for cleanliness. So the same way it's a sunnah for a man to perform ghusl before he makes the intention of ihram, that is also the case for the women as well. Obviously, just one or two rules to add on here. Again, I said I think probably sisters will discuss it a bit more next door. But again, there may be some of you brothers whose wives are going or women folk are going. So sometimes we get questions regarding, can women take certain tablets to stop the periods, and what would be the case in that situation? So I think the fatwas which the muftis or the imams will give is best that they don't take any of these types of menstruating stopping kind of tablets. Why? Because there's more kind of like nuksan or damage for them long term. So they kind of like, yes, they may stop the periods, but then later on when they do start bleeding, they bleed very heavily. And there is a usul in the Sharia where it says, La darara wa la dirar. So you can't harm anyone, but at the same time, you can't do something where there is reciprocating harm on you. So we shouldn't encourage. Obviously, if a woman does decide to take it, at the end of the day, it's her decision. So if she does decide to take it, then that's fine. Even though biologically, she would have been on her menses during that particular period, but she stopped her haid and her menses. So therefore, in that situation, she will be considered to be fi hukmi tahira. She will be considered to be clean. So therefore, if she wants to perform tawaf, go to the masjid, all these things will be corrected and out. But obviously, it's not something what we will encourage. Also remember regarding the women is that once they are on their menses and they're in ihram, they can do everything in terms of they could go to Miah, Arafah, Muzdalifah, all these places they can do. The only thing they can't do is enter the masjid, and they can't perform tawaf. So these are the two things they can't do. So obviously if she wants to sit, say for example, on the outskirts of the masjid, then she can do that. I think there's an area, not inside the masjid, but outside, which is not considered to be part of the masjid. Then she can go there and sit in the courtyard, which is not part of the masjid. And she can't perform tawaf, because to do tawaf, you have to be inside. So that's not going to be allowed. But she can do other things as well, even to the extent that she can even do sa'i, which I will talk about later in the state of haste. So just say for argument's sake. But remember, she can't do advanced sa'i. It has to be tawaf before and then sa'i. So just imagine she did a tawaf, and after doing tawaf, she started the menses. Then she can do the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, because that's not a masjid. So she can actually do the sa'i in the state of haze if she wants to do so. So these are a few things to remind everyone, but inshallah, whilst we go through this slide, some of the rules, inshallah, perhaps mentioning in a bit more detail. Now, the previous slide was just still introduction towards ihram, so we haven't really gone into the nitty-gritty as of yet. This next slide here tells us that after like, say for example, we've trimmed, cut our nails, we've done everything, the next rule is that we should pray 2 rakat salah, or a prescribed salah. What does that mean, prescribed salah? Meaning, it could be the case that we put on our ihram at such a time that we can't pray the 2 rakat salah. So, if it's, say, for example, Zuhr time, then we just pray the 4 rakat Zuhr instead. If it's Asr time, then we just pray the 4 rakat Asr instead. And whilst we're praying the Asr, whilst we're praying the Zuhr, the Maghrib, we just make the intention that this is also for Salatul Ihram as well. So that would be correct. Also remember that the Salatul Ihram is in fact a Sunnah prayer. So it has the same rule as a Nafil, which in other words means that in the Hanafi fiqh, we can't pray Salatul Ihram after Asr and nor during the Fajr time. But during Fajr time, the only Sunnah you can pray is the 2 rakats, which is Sunnah. So if we are putting on our Ihram after Asr, we can't pray. We just make the intention, recite Talbiyah, and that will be it. If it's during Fajr time, then only the Fajr, only the 2 rakats Fajr Sunnah we can do, and that's it. Yeah, this is the 2 rakats before wearing the Ihram. Yeah, that's right, Brother Mansoor. And it's also mentioned there with your head covered. Head covered. Because remember, you're not in the state of Ihram as of yet. Remember, just putting the 2 clothes on, you're not in the state of Ihram. So why we said that have your head covered is a lot of the times we don't have our head covered. We just leave it bareheaded. So it's telling us now, have your head covered. And then we should pray or we should recite the following surah. This, by the way, Sunnah, which is mentioned in many authentic hadiths, which is Surah Kafirun in first rakat and Surah Ikhlas in the second rakat. Again, they are mentioning bold red writing. Note up to this point, all what you did was preparation for Ihram. Make the intention and say the talbiyah. So up to this point, you're not in the state of Ihram. This is all preparation. Even after you prayed your 2 rakat salah, you're still not in Ihram. Yeah, so even after your Ihram, if you want to apply more perfume and attar on, that's fine. Yeah, at that time, you're going to cut your nails, you can. There'll be no dam, there'll be no penalty. But after you prayed it, you then make the intention and then you say the talbiyah. So you make the intention, oh Allah, if you're doing tamattu Hajj, so you'll make intention of Umrah. Because remember, you're doing Umrah, then you're going to pause and then you're going to do Hajj after. So you just make the intention of Umrah. If you're doing Qiran Hajj, you make intention of Umrah and Hajj. And if it's just Ifrad, then you just make the intention of Hajj. So you make the intention and then you say the Talbiyah, which I will look at on the next page. And then he said, from this point, when you made the intention, said the Talbiyah, from this point, you are now in the state of Ihram. So you're not in the state of Ihram before. Only at this point, you now come into the state of Ihram. And then he goes on to explain, after the intention is made, recite the Talbiyah, which is the following. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. And then you have the translation on the next slide as well, which again, I'm sure a few will know. So remember, as I said before, key points, and that is that you make the intention of Talbiyah. So you make the intention and Talbiyah, only then you are considered to be in the state of Ihram. Okay. So you make the intention before and pray afterwards. You'll have the prayer is only for before. The prayer is only for before. So I did say that if it is going to be makruh time, then you can just pray before, a few hours before, and then when the time is ready, then you can make the intention. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at the next set of slides. Restrictions of Ihram. i.e. mahzurat al-Ihram. Restrictions of Ihram. Now, when you come to the stage of Ihram, then there's certain things There's certain things which you can do, can't do, yeah? So we're going to mention certain restrictions. So we'll start off with clothing. So number one, men cannot wear any sewn clothes, such as a shirt, turban, hooded clothes, should be hooded there, trousers, underwear, or shoes. So when you're in the state of ihram, that's why we just like have those two, what we call, we just have those two shawls, like two clothes. The shawl at the top, and then the lungi at the bottom. Obviously, the lungi or the towel, say for example, maybe sewn, that's fine. You know, the edge may be sewn, that's fine. But you can't wear sewn clothing. In other words, those clothes which are sewn, but this is the key word, which have been sewn ala hay'at al-libas, which means which have been sewn on the look-alike of a clothing, which a person can consider to be clothing. So look, we'll look at this later. Like when you're in Miah, you sleep under a sleeping bag. Again, because actually some tour operator may actually give you a mattress. When we went a few years back, it was a sleeping bag. So when you look at sleeping bag, it's sewn. So is that allowed? The answer is yes, because no one in their right mind would say you're wearing a sleeping bag. Yeah, you don't wear a sleeping bag. You sleep in a sleeping bag. So remember, so even with a lot of the things, you just need to look at that. Yes, a lot of things will be sewn, even like the pouch some will have around their waist, you know, where they put their passports and their money in. That's also sewn as well. But it's not a libas, it's not clothing. So the rule is it has to be something which is considered to be clothing. So like that's why I said shirt, that's a clothing. Turban, well, you can't wear the turban, not because it's sewn, it's because you're going to cover your head, and you don't have to cover your head in the state of ihram. Hooded clothes, that's not going to be allowed. Trousers, obviously, that's clothing and it's stitched as well. Underwear, that's stitched and it's clothing. And shoes as well. Shoes, because obviously, we'll look at that later, that's also sewn, and also at the same time covers your top part of your feet. Actually, I'm just mentioning now so that no one, if I may forget later, regarding obviously sandals, what kind of sandals should we wear? A lot of people have a question because obviously you're going to be doing a lot of walking. A lot of the time you'll probably walk, even though transport is available, but it's just too many people, it's too busy, too many people. Sometimes the buses, the coaches tend to be overcrowded, especially when you're traveling from, say, Miah to Makkah, or even Makkah to Miah, even sometimes Arafat to Muzdalifah. There's too many people. So sometimes it'd actually be better just to like walk towards those places. It's a few miles away, but alhamdulillah, I'm sure many of the brothers who are going a bit younger, fitter, they should be able to do that. So what kind of sandals? So obviously there's been a lot of research and tahqiq done. When I taught this course a few years back, I normally used to give the fatwa that, you know, the top part of your, you know, the upper bone of your feet, so this part has to be exposed. So that then meant that the best type of footwear to wear would be something like flip-flops, something comfortable like that. That would be the way around it. But to wear flip-flops throughout the journey is going to be a bit difficult. So what these scholars have mentioned is that if we have, this is the feet, as long as, probably show it would be better. So if, say for example, you see the feet, yep. So as long as like you have this part, yeah, this part kind of like uncovered. So basically, if you were to find certain khuffains, leather socks, where they have basically, it's like a sock here, where they have basically more or less everything covered from below, even the toes, and you have this kind of area exposed, then that would be fine. Okay, so that is basically the rule here. What you can do is the best one would be that there are certain sandals you could find where there's a strap across your toes, and then you have a strap just above your ankle. So they kind of like leave that part kind of exposed. So I think if you could find that, I'll recommend everyone to take that for your, because there's a lot of walking you have to do. And sometimes using flip-flops not really comfortable after a while, you start hurting. And what you don't want to be, especially in Ihram or in Hajj, is, being kind of a bit like bedridden or wheelchair bound because you can't move your legs and you've got blisters and you can't walk. Very painful, and also you don't want to be like spending time in hospitals and these places in that particular situation. He goes on to explain that women can wear the normal clothes, but without covering their faces or hands. So a woman's ihram is such that she wears the normal clothes. Yes, she wears a normal burqa, normal jilbab. Obviously, she'll cover her hair, but then she'll leave her face exposed and also her hands as well. Yes, so she won't wear gloves during the time of ihram. And at the same time, she will uncover her face as well. You should not wear gloves, men and women, although there is no harm in wrapping the hands in a cloth. Because it goes back to that point of gloves is stitched and it's considered to be an item of clothing. So you can't wear gloves in the state of ihram. But if, say, for example, somebody wrapped their hands in a towel or in a piece of cloth, that's okay. Sometimes, like after eating, you wash your hands and then you kind of like rub your hands on a towel. Just go like that. Or just wipe, or just say you did wudu and just wipe your arms. That's okay. But you can't actually physically go around wearing a gloves. Why? Because that is a piece of art. That's an item of clothing, and that's not allowed. Men cannot cover their head with something that touches it. So men are not allowed to cover their head with something that touches. In other words, men cannot like cover and wear hats. Wear hats, wear caps, any of these things, baseball caps or just normal hats. They would not be allowed to do that in State Ihram. Men have to leave their hair exposed. Head exposed. That's the rule with regards to clothing. With regards to fragrance, it says that you should not perfume yourself, your clothing, your food or drink after entering ihram. So again, straightforward. So you should not perfume yourself. So this is, remember, after ihram here. So you should not perfume yourself, you should not perfume your clothing, your food or drink after ihram. Let me just explain food or drink. Meaning, there may be certain masalas or certain kind of like foods which has a very, very powerful smell. Now, there's two ways to look at it. If it's been cooked, then you can eat that. So just say like onions or it could be anything like saffron, which you sometimes have on the sweet rice. So if it's been like, say, cooked, matbukh, cooked, then you can eat that. If you're not with that. Sometimes you get those flavored colored tea, pink tea. So again, if it's been like cooked, like meaning it's been boiled, then you can drink that, eat that. Let's see these things. If it's been mixed, then you can drink that. The issue is where it's like raw, so it hasn't been cooked, and it's just been put on top of the food as a kind of like a dressing on the food. So now when it's raw, so for you to basically eat that raw with the smell emitting, then that's not enough. Okay? If it's been cooked, then it's okay. But if it hasn't been cooked and it's just been put on top and it's got a very a deep smell and it's got a nice smell, then you're basically not allowed to eat that raw, because then that will kind of like emit smell. Yeah, good example. Yeah, good example. So mint will be a good example. Yeah, mint, like especially like mint tea. Sometimes, especially the Arabs probably find a lot of the tea and mint. They kind of have the mint next to it, so they actually eat the mint raw. Is not going to be allowed because that's emitting smell. That's a good example. So things like that, inshallah. Obviously, if the mint was added onto a dish and they cooked it, just say they were cooking rice or some kind of curry, and then it became cooked and matbukh, and even though there is a bit of a mint smell, but it's been cooked, then it's okay. But if it's just raw, then you can't. So that's like the rule, inshallah. It's also mentioned, I'll take the question in a second. You should also abstain from cleansing yourself with scented soap and also refreshing towels given in flights. Yep, so scented soap. So you can use unscented soap. So there's a brand which we have in the UK, like Simple Soap. So they're unscented. That's okay, you can use that. Yeah, that's okay. So again, if you want to use that to wash your hands, or just if you want to have a quick shower and want to use unscented soap, that's okay. But things which are scented, fragrance soap, obviously shower gel, shampoo, these things would not be allowed because they all have smell. How about toothpaste? So again, toothpaste, the smell, like with regard to toothpaste, the scholars have said that the ingredients outweigh the smell. So it depends what kind of toothpaste you have. There are certain toothpaste where it smells. It's kind of got a very deep smell to it. It's got a very strong smell. It's actually the name of a toothpaste, I forgot. But it's very, very powerful smell. It smells like a tiger balm. Very powerful. Something like that. So, I'm not sure. I've used it many times before. Yeah, so you have the stronger ones. So that you won't be able to use. But if you're looking at your normal standard Aquafresh, even the Colgate, the simple, the standard one. Obviously, I'm not sure about the other ones, the fancy ones they have, whiteners and these things they may have. But I think if you're just going to use the standard Aquafresh, standard Colgate, or even any of the cheaper brands where just the paste you're using, then that's fine. Inshallah, in state of ihram, that will be fine because it's not too fragrant. Obviously, the brand you mentioned or any other brands where it's got a lot of fragrance, then obviously you're not allowed to use that in state of ihram. But as I was saying, yeah, refreshing towels given in flights, after you finish eating, they give those towels. So just be careful. If you're not in state of ihram as of yet, then you could use it. No, nothing wrong with that. But if you are already in state of ihram and then to use that, then that would be la yajuz, that would be permissible. So you just have to be, inshallah, a bit careful and a bit wary on that, inshallah. But obviously, other things like deodorants, these things would not be allowed in state of ihram. Going back to the question, like the brother mentioned, are we allowed to have bandage? So the answer is yes, bandage is allowed. So you could just bandage yourself and these things. Obviously, if they are applying other things onto the bandage, like a tiger balm or Savlon, then that may become an issue. So if you do have to apply that, like Vicks or tiger balm or Savlon, all these Dettol, these things, because that's got a smell, so that's not going to be allowed. But because it's a wound, so you can apply it, but then you would have to give a penalty at the end. But just normal plasters, normal dressings on the wound, there's nothing wrong with that, inshallah. Okay. Any other questions? Medicine. Yeah, if it's just normal medicine, like tablets, these things and so on, syrups, yeah, even the syrups as well, that'll be okay. Because the other ingredients outweigh the smell, so that'll be okay. Obviously, things like tiger balm, or Dettol is a bit more of an issue, but that's got a smell, that's got a fragrance, and that would be an issue. Okay, let's move on to the next part, inshallah. So again, restrictions of ihram. Continuing sexual intercourse, I think everybody knows. No need for me to go into detail there. So obviously kissing, touching. So it's not just about intercourse, even the things leading up to intercourse, like touching these things and so on, is not allowed in the state of ihram. And we then have cleansing. Restrictions of ihram is something else like cleansing. So you should not remove any hair from any part of the body. You should not clip your nails. You should not even kill lice. So even nits, you're not allowed to kill them in the state of ihram. And obviously that means that not to use shampoo or shower gels or these things that would not be allowed in the state of ihram. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I haven't actually put it in my head.
Okay.
So which way?
Yeah, you can do that now. Now, the next point to mention is you should not kill animals except those that are harmful or that would attack people, such as mice, snakes, and scorpions. Okay, so you're not allowed to kill any animals that are harmful unless the following. So in the state of ihram, you're not allowed to kill any animals. But you can kill, like, say, mice, snakes, these things, scorpions. They would be allowed. It's actually mentioned in the hadith. There are 5 animals. يُقْتَلْنَ فِي الْحِلِّ وَالْحَرَمِ. يُقْتَلْنَ فِي الْحِلِّ وَالْحَرَمِ. So you can kill these animals and so on in the state of ihram. And also it's mentioned, if we go to the next page. Okay, these are considered to be the permissible actions of ihram. There is no harm in using, there's no harm in using an umbrella, because I just said that you can't cover your hair. Yep. But it's okay to use an umbrella in the state of ihram. That's okay. Yes, you can't cover your hair with caps and these things, but obviously it's going to be quite hot, especially Saudi. It tends to be very, very hot, doesn't it? So if in that situation, if we were to use an umbrella or even the roof of a car or a tent for shade, that's okay. There is also no harm in carrying your baggage on top of your head. If you're going to carry your baggage, you see a lot of people will have their small suitcases on top of their head. I'm not sure how to balance it, but they put it on their head and then they kind of walk around. So to do that, that's also allowed as well. Point number 2. Wearing sandals, rings, glasses, a watch worn on your wrist or hung from your neck. So again, to wear sandals, I've already told you. Rings, glasses, watches, even like some people have the watch hung around the neck. That's also allowed as well. Or if we were to use another example, some basically have the, I think nowadays with every group you have to have one of those kind of like a, what do you call it, those ID card. So they kind of hang you around the neck, that you're part of this group. So even to wear that around the state of ihram, that's fine. Hearing aid, speech aid, all these things are allowed in the state of ihram. According to most scholars, it is permissible to cleanse yourself with unscented cleansers and to wash and scratch your head and body, even if some of your hair falls unintentionally. So you can cleanse yourself with cleansers, perfumes, and to wash and scratch your head and body. So even like sometimes, like, because remember, you're going to be in ihram for main number of days. So after a while, you probably start scratching a bit. Yeah, you're not going to be using any soap or any of these things. So you kind of like scratch, you may scratch on a spot. So they're saying that if any hair was to fall intentionally in that situation, then there is nothing wrong with that. The next point is washing your ihram garments or to put new ones on. So that's the problem. You don't have to wear the same ihram clothes throughout the 5-6 days. So to replace it, alternate it, is allowed. To wear, to kind of like wash ihram garments or to put new ones on. Next, wearing a belt. Is it transpiration? What do you mean, like a wig on your head? What do you mean perspiration, like sweat? Yes, sweat. Yeah, yeah. So you can use that. You like rubbing yourself. Yeah, that's fine. That'll be allowed. Yeah, it's your unintentional. That's fine. Okay, so washing your ihram garments is allowed. Wearing a belt to keep your money and your documents, that's also allowed as well. And it says that it's permissible for men to cover with blanket and duvets. Impermissible to wear sewn clothes, like I already told you. To cover yourself like a sleeping bag, or to have like a duvet, and to cover yourself with that. So that would be allowed in the state of ihram. So all these things would be considered to be correct and permissible in the state of ihram. Any questions? No? Okay. So that, in a nutshell, concludes the rules about ihram. So it's kind of straightforward. I think I'll just quickly recap with you. So basically, these things you're allowed to do. All these things are allowed here, like sandals, rings, glasses, wearing ID cards and so on, which is hung around your neck. So all these things are allowed here, as already mentioned. Some of the points I've already mentioned. Unscented cleansers, unscented soap, these things already spoken about, toothpaste, washing your ihram garments to put new ones on, all these things are allowed.
Washing just with water.
Yeah, just with water, yeah, that's right. Okay, so alhamdulillah, so that kind of like the introduction of ihram, what we can do, can't do. Now we're going to go a bit more into the nitty-gritty. So takes us nicely on to the next slide, which is about going to Masjidul Haram. You're going to Masjidul Haram. Yeah, that's unintentionally from Brother Ajmal, so it'll be okay, inshallah. Unintentional. Obviously, if you like intentionally plucking it out, there's a difference. So you just obviously don't do it too forcefully. So obviously just do like that normal. That'll be fine. Obviously, if you're like literally trying to like go like this with the comb and so on, then that's different. Then you have to do the sadaqah. Okay, now the next slide which we have in front of us is just a bird's eye view of the haram. Some of the pictures, by the way, are a bit old. Obviously, you can tell I'm been for a while, so it's a bit old. So some of the pictures you see will be slightly older. So you just have where everything is. So you've got Mount Safa there, Umrah Gate. These are just name of the gates. Again, it's like another picture of the Haram. So you've got the door of the Kaaba, the black stone, Maqam Ibrahim. Again, these are monuments which I'm sure all of you are aware of. Hijri Ismail, also known as the Hatim, Zamzam. So that area is closed now to Mount Safa. So again, it's kind of like straightforward. Okay, so that's all done, inshallah. Now I'm going to go, as I said, into nitty-gritty. So let's just quickly recap. So if you're doing Tamattu Hajj, then the first thing you're going to be doing is Umrah. So you made the intention of Umrah. So now when you arrive in Makkah, depending how you're going to arrive, so whether you're going to arrive straight away to Makkah, or whether it's going to be by going to Medina Munawwara first and then you're going to come to Makkah. But whatever it is, when you're coming to Makkah, you will do your do your Umrah first. Okay. If someone is doing Qiran Hajj, he will also have to do Umrah first. If someone is doing Ifrad Hajj, so this Umrah, which we're going to explain in front of you, think of it to be, for him, it's a Tawaf al-Qudum. I'm not sure whether you've come across these terms. But for us, like us being like, for majority, like those who are doing Tamattu Hajj or Qiran Hajj, this Tawaf you're going to do, the first one is going to be a Umrah. And for those who are just doing Ifrad Hajj, this is going to be there, what we call Tawaf al-Qudum. Tawaf al-Qudum means the Tawaf of greeting. It's the coming Tawaf, the first Tawaf you do. Because remember, if someone's just doing Ifrad Hajj, he doesn't have to do Umrah. So for him, it's just like a Tawaf al-Qudum and that's it. You do that, yeah? So now, let's have a look at what are the requirements of Umrah. What are the farais of Umrah? As I said, I think many of you brothers are going to be doing Tamattu or Qiran Hajj. Yes, so therefore, the first Tawaf you're going to be doing when you set in to Makkah will be Umrah. So let's have a look at it. So you're going to be doing Ihram. So that's first Ihram. Tawaf. Number 3, Sa'i between Safa. So these are the farais. So you need to have Ihram on, which we've already discussed. You do Tawaf, which is the 7 rounds. You also need to do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa. And you also have to do what, everyone? The halaq. The shaving the head or trimming the hair. Obviously, women will do taqseer, which again the sisters will explain next door, inshallah. So these are the 4 farais. Now, what's the first thing we should do when we arrive at the haram? So the first thing we'll do, we'll be practical about the situation. When we arrive, the first thing we'll do is we'll basically kind of like book into the hotel. Are you brothers going to be in the hotel in Makkah or are you going to be in Aziziyah? Everybody going to be in Aziziyah or straight to Makkah? Okay, that's fine. So you'll be assigned your hotel room and so on in Makkah, and then afterwards you'll probably relax, take a bath. Obviously it's been a long journey. You're probably traveling since the moment you probably left your house. By the time you arrive in Makkah and go through customs and everything, it's probably at least 24 hours here, easily. So basically, when you get there, you'll probably be tired, so you want to like relax, freshen up, and so on. So the rule is that what you should do is that you should basically relax a bit, have a ghusl. Obviously, it depends. Sometimes people don't even take the ghusl and they just want to get their umrah done. Because remember, especially those who are doing Tamattu Hajj, for them, when they're doing Tamattu Hajj, for them it's all about getting the umrah out of the way quickly, and then they could have a shower and relax for the rest of the few days. So it just depends. If you're doing Qiran Hajj, then obviously you got more time because it doesn't matter whether you rush it or not. It's going to be in Ihram anyway. So for brothers who perhaps will be doing Qiran, I think the likelihood will be probably relax, take your time. There's no rush to go and perform Umrah. But just from experience, the brothers who are doing Tamattu and even sisters as well, they just want to get out of Ihram. So then you probably see them literally put their bags inside the hotel room, lock the door, and then straight away they'll go to the Haram, perform their Umrah, do the Sa'i, and a few hours later they'll come to the hotel room, they've done everything, they've shaved their hair, and that's it, they have the ghusl and they have a nice relaxing sleep and so on. So again, it just depends on situation. Again, obviously important, just follow your Amir. Obviously many of you are going with the group, so remember, even all the things which I'm saying, do or follow your Amir. So if the Amir says, no, we're going to relax first and then we'll go, then even if you're doing Tamattu, you should still kind of like listen to your Amir. Listening to the Amir is alaykum bisami wa I'm sure everybody's aware of that hadith, aren't you? So that's basically necessary. So always keep that in mind, inshallah. So firstly, it says that take a bath, ghusl before entering Makkah if possible. Obviously, it may not be possible before you enter, but at least when you enter Makkah, and you're in the hotel, then before you enter the masjid, at least clean yourself up, take a ghusl, change your clothes, and then enter, inshallah, the masjid in a more serene and in a more content way. We go on to the next slide. Next slide again talks about arriving in Masjid al-Haram. So again, there's some points, some fazails mentioned, such as number one, when you see the Kaaba, raise your hands and make dua. So when you see the Kaaba, what should you do? Raise your hands and make the dua. There is no dua established from the Prophet ﷺ at this point. So you may make dua with whatever you wish. So this is like when you enter. We're not talking about the actual outside, because we're talking about the actual Kaaba itself. So when you're entering in, and I think for many of the brothers here, it's the first time you're going. So the moment your eyes fix onto the Kaaba, then make a dua. And as I said, there's no particular dua, but in your own language, in English, in French, in Urdu, whatever you speak, whatever you're comfortable with, then inshallah make dua, and it's mentioned that duas are accepted at that time. Also, another clarification perhaps of a bid'ah is you should not believe that you have to enter the masjid from a particular gate. It is permissible to enter from any gates. I think one thing you realize when you go for Hajj is everyone is a Mufti then, yeah? Everyone is like a sheikh then, yeah? You'll see everyone will give their own fatwas. Yeah, you can't do this, you can't do that. One of the things I noticed when I went first time around is this, that you have to enter there's a lot of gates taking you towards the Haram. Because I showed you a few slides back. There's all these like King Abdulaziz gates and King Fahad's gates and so on. So somehow you have to enter through this way or that way. So there's nothing like that. You can enter the Haram or the masjid in whichever way you want. Obviously, the likelihood is that because nowadays it's like a one-way system. There's too many people, so you're just going to follow the crowd, and whichever way they're going to Makkah, you're just going to basically enter into the Haram in that particular way. Okay, so that's that. Now this goes into the nitty-gritty. So if you look at the title at the top, it says Tawafi Qudum and also Tawafi Umrah. So those who are just doing Ifrad Hajj, for them, they'll make the intention of Tawafi Qudum. And for the rest who will be doing Tamattu Hajj or Qiran Hajj, for them, this will be considered a Umrah Tawaf. So now, what is meant by Tawaf? What do you have to do Tawaf? Is it just going around the Kaaba 7 times? Is it that simple? So you'll see that it's not as easy as that. There's 2 things to mention here, which sometimes students forget or brothers forget. But let's have a read of the note. So it says that Tawaf around the Kaaba means Kaaba being to your left. So in other words, you're doing the Tawaf anti-clockwise. When you go there, you'll see, it's in English as well, some of these signs. It will say, Tawaf starts from here. It'll be in English. They'll say, the black stone is from here. So what you just need to do, you need to and again, you'll see, just follow the crowd. And again, there's this notion that you'll see even the people there, most of them speak English anyway. So even you don't have to worry about, if everything's in Arabic, how we're going to communicate, how we're going to go. And plus at the same time, I'm sure many of the brothers who are Indian subcontinent find a lot of Desi people there, you find a lot of Bengali people, Pakistani people, so you're speaking their own language. So this notion that everything is in Arabic, how we're going to cope, a lot of people have these types of excuses, nothing like that. You'll see, it's just, everything's in English, even the people who are there, they know how to speak English. Yes, some may not, but that's fine, you don't really need to deal with them. But the people you need to deal with, they know English, and the people perhaps who, when it comes to food and these things, just going to be our locals. So you could even kind of speak to them in your native language as well, whether it's in Tamil, or whether it's in Hindi, whether it's in Urdu, whether it's in Bengali, and be able to do that. So as I was saying that, there'll be signs there telling you this is where the Tawaf starts. So the Kaaba will be to your left. So you'll go according to the Salah rule, isn't it? So you start from the minimum. So if it's 6 or 7, so you assume it's 6, and then you go and just do the extra one. So you go around the Kaaba 7 times. Okay. Next, istiba. Okay, istiba, and this is important. Wearing the ihram under your right armpit and over your left shoulder. What does istiba mean? Istiba means, again, I'm sure everybody knows. So you know that shawl, that rida which you'll be wearing. Remember, you've had it over your both shoulders throughout since you came to state of ihram. You had it over your both shoulders. What istiba will mean is that you kind of like that part of the towel or shawl, you now place it under your right shoulder. So your right shoulder is now exposed. And then you like plant it over your left. Place it over your left. So we call that what, everyone? Istiba. The next rule there, the istiba will be done throughout the 7 rounds of tawaf. So istiba will be done what, everyone? Throughout the 7 rounds of tawaf. So do you know when you're doing this tawaf? When you're doing this tawaf, let's just look at it from an umrah perspective. When you're doing this tawaf, you have to make sure that throughout the 7 rounds, you've done istiba. The right shoulder is exposed. The next term is the word ar-ramal. Now, ramal is what we call strong and quick walk with boldness, in which the shoulders are thrust forward. So in other words, you kind of like marching. The way the soldiers, when they march from one place to another, that's how you're going to be walking. You're going to be marching your way through, in which the shoulders are thrust forward. So in other words, you're kind of marching like this. And this ramal, brothers, will be done in the first 3 rounds only, and then you will walk normally in the rest. So ramal is only done in the first 3 rounds, and that's it.
So, as I'm traveling with my missus, and I can obviously be around there with so much in terms of people there, there's one the potential that I won't be able to do that because I have no space.
Yeah, that's right.
And
So,
and the second one is, if I do have the space, but I want to potentially guard my wife as well and bring her on the tawaf.
yeah. Yes, so good question. Obviously, the brother here is just asking a couple of things about how to do ramal if there are a lot of people around. So the rule is that if there's a lot of people around and you're unable to do because there's too many people, then that becomes cancelled. So ramal is like a sunnah. Now, obviously, with regards to you don't want to be like marching and then obviously the women don't do ramal, so then they're kind of like left behind in a way. But you want to obviously be with your wife. So what you can do is that another way of doing ramal is just slow the ramal. Do a slow ramal. So what I mean by that is that you're kind of like marching in that way, but you're not making giant strides forward. So you're kind of like still marching, but it's like you're walking, but it's marching. Yes, so then your wife could still like keep up with you, if that makes sense. So that is like one way around the situation. Okay, good. So remember, ramal is only done in the first 3 rounds and not for all of them, yeah? Whereas istiba is done for all of them. Now, the next rule is regarding the black stone, something called the black stone, and the istila. Now, what we mean by that is remember, we start the tawaf from we start the tawaf from the black stone. Yep, the black stone and the istila. So what we should do is we go to the black stone. Again, you'll be able to tell because obviously there'll be signs there which basically will tell you that this is the black stone. So you start your tawaf from there. G. Now, what happens is that you go to you go straight to the black stone. And facing it, make takbir like the way in Salah. So you go to the black stone, and what you do, you look towards the black stone, and you look towards the black stone, and you face it, and then you would do takbir like you do in Salah. So takbir Allahu Akbar. So that's what you do. So you look towards the black stone, and you do takbir Allahu Akbar. Then you place both hands and kiss it as the Prophet ﷺ did that. Now, you don't place both hands on the metal rim which is around it. The sunnah is to place both hands on the stone. The metal rim came afterwards. So what you do is that you place your hands on what? On the actual stone, both hands, and then you kiss it. So firstly you do takbir Allahu Akbar, and then you place both hands on the stone in front of you, and then you kiss it. So that is the most preferable way of doing it. But I think everybody knows there's too many people. So you're not going to really be... Obviously, I know a lot of people push their way through, and I'm sure you've seen videos and YouTube videos and clips on YouTube, WhatsApp and these things of people fighting and pushing each other. So inshallah, we're not going to be doing that, because we shouldn't give taklif to fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. So the likelihood is that you probably will be, perhaps you may not be able to do point number 3, which is if you are not able to kiss it, then touch it with the right hand or with the stick, and then kiss your hand or stick. Now just imagine, it could be the case, you may get near to it, but you can't position yourself to touch it properly and kiss it. So what you can do is that somehow, say from afar, you could touch the black stone and then kiss the black stone. That would be fine. Or if there's a stick, like you may have, I don't know, like a pen or something long, and you could touch that and then kiss the stick afterwards, then that would be fine. If you cannot touch it, you should then stretch both hands with the palms facing it. Then kiss between your hands and commence the tawaf. So if you cannot touch it, which will be the likelihood of the situation, there's going to be too many people, especially as many of the brothers are going to be traveling with their wife. So you don't want to be like going there with your wife, then she's going to get pushed around. And also the same way, you don't want to leave your wife there and then you say, okay, let me go and do it, because then by the time you get there, because of the crowd, they may get maneuvered around here and there. So what would be the best thing to do for yourself and your wife is, from afar, you just basically stretch both hands with the palms facing it, as if one were placing the hands on them, and then kiss between your hands and commence the tawaf. In other words, what you do, and this is what is known as istilam, is that just assume the black stone is in front of you. So you're from afar, so obviously you're kind of a distance away from the black stone. Just like assume the black stone is in front of you. So just place both hands like that in front, and then kiss it and then go. Because obviously if you were right in front of this, is what you would have done. You would have placed both hands on stone, and then you would have kissed it. But because you're far apart, then what you do is just basically place your hands in front, gesture there, and then kiss it, and then inshallah continue from it. Inshallah, yeah? Start your tawaf. And this is kind of very important. You would do this in every circuit. So in every circuit, you will basically do that. I.e., every chakra, every round. So there's 7 you will have to make to complete a tawaf. So for every round, you will basically do that. Okay? Okay, any question? No? Okay, let's have a look at the next part, inshallah. The next slide then talks about tawaf, just like some pictures of the tawaf. So again, telling us where to start from with the Maqam Ibrahim. Again, there's a few corners to remember. So you're starting the tawaf from here, black stone, anti-clockwise. So you're going to be first corner in the approach is Iraqi corner, then the Shami corner, and then the Yemeni corner. Iraqi and Shami corner, they were made later, so there isn't that much significance regarding it. There is some significance regarding the Yemeni corner, which I will inshallah mention in due course. Okay, the next paragraph talks about what is known as the Hatim, also known as the Hijra Ismail. Now, this picture you see in front of you, this area is known as the Hatim. And by the way, this Hatim area is actually part of the Kaaba. So he says that the 10 feet of Hijra Ismail is part of the Kaaba. The tawaf will be void if you walk through this area. So if you walk through this area, the tawaf will be invalid. So in other words, you have to go around. Some of people may do a shortcut, they want to walk through there. Obviously, you won't be able to do this. So many people praying Salah anyway. If somebody did try to, it's not going to do that. You have to go all the way around, as you can see from the picture in front of you, inshallah. Some notes regarding tawaf, some masajid regarding tawaf. You do not have to say your intention out loud to begin tawaf. So when it comes to tawaf, you don't have to say your intention loud. A state of wudu is required for all kinds of tawaf. So the wudu is required for all kinds. What does that mean? Obviously, you make the intention of tawaf. So if you're doing umrah, you make the intention. But you don't have to say it loudly. Also, another thing to mention is that a state of wudu is required for all kinds of tawaf. So for all kinds of tawaf, a state of wudu is required. Next. All kinds of tawaf, including optional tawaf, consist of 7 circuits around the Kaaba. So for all tawafs, whether it's optional, you should perform it with wudu. And all tawafs, as you can see, even optional one, it consists of 7 circuits around the Kaaba. Some of the rules. Next slide. Tawaf notes 2. Continue tawaf without interruption, unless it is necessary. Otherwise, it will be void. Telling us continue tawaf without any interruption. So do the tawaf without any delay. Like, in other words, don't do like 3 rounds and then take a break and then come back afterwards. Also, we'll talk about toilet breaks in a second. Yeah, so just keep on doing. Don't like take, do a few rounds. I'm tired and take a break, sit down. No, just keep on doing. Yeah, keep on walking. Unless you're really tired that you can't, physically move your legs. That could happen. Like, especially going with elders, then fair enough for them, they may wait for a bit. But generally speaking, without any necessity, we shouldn't pause the tawaf.
Let's assume I will go out from the roof, maybe.
Yeah, like I said, you can take a break, but not like it says it, unless it's necessary. So if you really need the break, just like I said, you lost all strength, power in your feet or legs that you can't move it, then obviously you'll have to take a break for a while, and then when you gain that second wind again, and then you can basically, and that's okay. But I said, unless necessary, we shouldn't really get. Yeah, obviously something which you could determine yourself. And obviously when you're tired, you can't physically push yourself further. Then fair enough, the Sharia, but without any necessary, like you just I just want to take a break, or you go for a cup of tea, not things like that. Yeah, obviously it'd be difficult to go for a cup of tea like that. So many people, but just say going out and then coming back again. Then no, it should be done. It should be done all at once. Yeah. It shouldn't be done like a few rounds and then go out and then another few rounds. Does that make sense? It should be done more or less all at once. Next point. When it is time for the obligatory salah, you stop your tawaf during the salah in your place and then resume your tawaf from where you left. Okay, now this is more possible. But sometimes because there's so many people, it'll probably take you around 1 hour at least. If it's really quiet, you could do it in 1 hour. Yeah. If there's a lot of people, then you're looking at least 2 hours, even 2.5 hours. So because it's like a human traffic jam, isn't it? So it's like going slowly. And sometimes when there's traffic jam in Birmingham, so it takes a while to go from one place to another. So
in the situation where with my wife, Salah time,
yeah,
she moved away now, so
she moved away.
Somewhere else.
That's right.
What do I do in that situation?
Yeah. So when it's time for Salah, obviously time for Salah is when the adhan goes. So what will happen when the adhan goes? You'll see everybody will just start forming their rows. Everybody stop everything and then they get into the rows. So obviously those who are traveling with their wives, so you just like tell them to kind of like go to the back. You'll see, obviously it's not, women and men are doing tawaf, but obviously for namaz time, you'll see the women tend to be more at the back and the men will be a bit more at the front. So what you have to do is that just tell the women to go to the back. You obviously will be at the front. Then you tell them that after the salah finishes, then you kind of like meet up again and then you carry on with your tawaf. So that will be one way around. Obviously, the sunnahs of salah afterwards, you can just like complete it later. So as I was saying that when salah time means when the adhan starts. So when adhan starts, everybody you see will start pausing everything. And then as soon as the salah finishes, you then resume from where you left off. So if you've done around 3 rounds, 4 rounds, you have to start all over again. After salah, you just continue with the remaining 3 rounds. Now, next rule is with regards to bathroom breaks. So again, the rule is if you need to go to the bathroom, but you have to go, there's nothing you can do about it. So you go to the bathroom, you stop your tawaf, make wudu before coming back to resume your tawaf. You resume your tawaf from where you left. However, some scholars say that you need to start over from the beginning. This is a more safe option. Again, it just depends on, again, you can start from the beginning if you want. But if, say, for example, if there's less time or you're tired, or like, say, for example, some may have toiletry problems, then in that situation, if you want to continue from where you left off, then that's also allowed as well. Yeah. So what I want to say is that there are 2 opinions. You can continue from where you left off, but also if you want to say, for example, start afresh, then you also have the opportunity to do that. Okay. What I would say is that just look at the situation. What I mean by that is, just imagine if it's a bit quiet and you could do the tawaf, say 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and just say, you in the middle, you just need a toilet break. So what I would recommend then, if it's a bit quiet and you just say on the ground floor where you can cover the rounds quickly, then perhaps what I would recommend is that you best to start from fresh again. If it's obviously you're doing tawaf, during the tawaf is ziyarat, and the ones which in the 10th of Zulhijjah, there's a lot of people, tawaf with a lot of people, then, if you've done 3 rounds, which may have taken you just an hour or so just to do that and to go through it and start again, maybe a bit difficult. So it's best, I would recommend in that situation is just basically continue from where you left off. The next point is the Kaaba should be to your left. Do not do tawaf with your back or right to the Kaaba. Do not walk backwards. So do not do tawaf with your right to the Kaaba or your back towards the Kaaba. So right obviously will be clockwise, so you're doing it the wrong way. Back obviously will be the Kaaba here, so that will be disrespectful. And also not to walk backwards. So again, when you're doing tawaf anti-clockwise, you walk straight. You don't basically do tawaf by walking backwards. Again, some of the rules here. You do not have to touch the black stone for your tawaf to be accepted. If it is crowded, you may face your hand towards the stone and say Allahu Akbar. So you don't have to touch the black stone. Obviously, I'm sure you notice people like push each other to kiss the black stone. and they think that they have to touch it. So again, it's not necessary to touch the black stone. And he says, you do not hurt anyone to kiss the black stone. So don't hurt anyone when it comes to kissing the black stone. And do not stand at the black stone line for a long time. Make a sign towards it with your hands. Say Allahu Akbar and you move on. So even in the black stone, don't stand for a long time. Because remember, black stone's here, so you're going to be here. So don't basically look at the black stone and basically do du'as and start, some of the people take out the pocket dua books and start reading du'as there and so on. And you're blocking the way because you always see when you go there, there's always a gap. There's always a queue at the black stones. No one's moving. Sometimes you have to push people through to basically get through and so on. So he goes on to explain that you shouldn't do that, but rather what you should do is not hurt anyone to kiss the black stone. Do not stand at the black stone line for a long time. Make a sign towards it with your hands, say Allahu Akbar and go. You do not touch the Shami or the Iraqi corners, which I already made reference to. So you don't basically touch that. And it goes on to explain that do not kiss the Yemeni corner. You may only touch it. So do not kiss the Yemeni corner. You may only touch it. Does that make sense? So you can basically don't kiss the Yemeni corner. I think I showed you this one here, if you remember. So you can't basically kiss the you don't kiss the Yemeni corner. But if you're passing by, so if you're passing by and you're close to it, then what you could do, you could just touch the Yemeni corner, and that will be it. Okay. Again, some of the notes to mention is there is no particular dhikr for tawaf. In other words, there are some dua books where it says you have to read this dua for this dua. For the second dua from me, there's nothing like that. There's no particular zikr. You should read Quran or say any other zikr. I'll just say read Quran. Like that. Afdalu dhikr is kalamullah, the words of Allah. So best thing is read Quran. If you're Hafiz, brilliant. Just read as much of the Quran. If not, then whatever you know from your surahs, whatever you memorize, Surah Yasin, whatever they may be. Some may know some of the surahs of the Quran, Surah Al-Rahman. You may have the hips of some surahs. Then you should just basically read that. That will be fine. Make dua by yourself. Do not do it in a shouting group. Yeah, you probably notice some Turks, they do this, or Indonesians. So they basically kind of like have a group and they're following this group. So then the group leader will make some duas. Nice duas, mashallah. The Arabic is beautiful duas, but then they're doing a shouting way. So it's kind of like a humming sound, like a humdinger of a sound, or like that. Nice duas, but it's too shouting. So you're trying to concentrate on your own dhikr and recitation. They're proper drumming your ear bells and so on. So that's also giving taklif to people. So we should abstain from doing that, inshallah. Okay. Any questions? Or again, if you look at the next paragraph, it says, when you finish the 7th round, cover your right shoulder and move to the Maqam Ibrahim. When you finish the 7th round, cover your right shoulder and move to the Maqam Ibrahim. So after you've done your 7th round, so now you need to cover your right shoulder. Remember istiba, which we were doing, that's only for the 7 rounds, yeah? But so you just basically cover your right shoulder and you go to the Maqam Ibrahim. You place the Maqam Ibrahim between yourself and the Kaaba and then pray 2 rakat salah. This, by the way, is known as Salatul Tawaf, yeah? So he goes on to explain that you should pray 2 rakat salah, and the 2 rakat salah, again like before, you recite Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Ikhlas. But as you can see from the last point here, the answer. Yeah, I was saying that if you have doubt regarding the number, you go according to salah, don't you, with the mansukh. That is that if you're unsure whether it's 6 or 7, you have to go according to the limited one, lowest one, aqal. So the aqal is 6. So you go according to that. So you assume it's 6, and then you just do another extra one, it becomes 7. Yeah, as I was saying regarding Maqam Ibrahim, that's virtually impossible during the Hajj season. You won't be able to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim. Some people do this, you notice, from some pictures, they kind of like maybe like a sheikh or someone. He may have his disciples who kind of form a human barrier, and then he kind of prays in front of the Maqam Ibrahim. So again, that's also giving taklif to the people, so you should kind of refrain from doing that as well, yeah? Okay. And afterwards after praying the 2 rakat salah, you should go and you go and drink the Zamzam water. Okay. Again, before they strap the wells there, obviously now there's no wells, now they've got the taps, so you just go and drink it from the taps, inshallah. Okay, so alhamdulillah, so we've done the tawaf. After we've done the tawaf, we then now have the sa'i, which is very, very important here, between Safa and Marwa. Now, you make this dua, which is نَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. No, it's just mustahab. You don't even have to as well. It's mustahab. Yeah, then afterwards you make this dua, which is نَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. We begin with that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has begun with. Yeah. So we begin with that which Allah has begun with. And then he says, that's bullet point, then climb Mount Safa until you see the Kaaba. But this may not be easy with today's construction. So therefore it's sufficient to just face the Kaaba. As I said, you may not be able to see the Kaaba because of the construction. So as long as you're just facing towards the Kaaba. So what you need to climb Mount Safa. You see, it's all marble there. So you're just climbing up the marble. They'll tell you, there'll be signs there. You're not going to get lost. There'll be signs there telling you this way to Safa, this way to Mount Safa. So, you just follow the crowd. You go there. It is a bit steep, so you climb it up. It's all marble, so it's not like, you're climbing on mountains or rocks. They've all marbled it up. So it's kind of like steep. So you just climb that, inshallah. And then afterwards, what you do is that you basically face towards the Qibla. And then it's kind of considered to be a good place where du'as are kind of like accepted. You should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then afterwards, you then descend from Safa and you start walking in the direction of Marwa. So you go down Safa and you start walking towards Marwa. Then you walk until you reach those 2 green lights, which you can quite visibly see. So the lights are big. Yeah. Obviously, this is known as the Miah after. This is where obviously Sayyidah Hajira kind of like won when she was looking for water for Ismaili Islam. As you can see, it's all structured now. So it's not really you're walking between mountains. Yes, during Sayyidah Hajira's time, that was the case. Not anymore. So as you can see, it's all like structured, marble structure. So between these 2 green lights, as you can see, what you do is that you kind of like jog between them, kind of like run between them until you reach the next green signpost. And then you walk up to Al-Marwa and then you ascend it. So you walk up to Al-Marwa and then what you do is you ascend that, you climb that. Do upon Marwa as you did upon Safa, and that forms one complete lap. Meaning, when you go to Mount Marwa, then you do what you did in Safa, which means that you face towards the Qibla and you make dua. Yeah, you make dua. Inshallah, duas will be accepted then, and that is considered to be one lap. So it's not like Safa to Marwa, Marwa to Safa is one lap. Safa to Marwa is considered to be one lap, inshallah. So if you've done it properly and correctly, then you start at Safa and then you should end at Marwa because there's 7 rounds you do, don't you? Okay. Okay, so that completes the sa'i, inshallah.
No specific was.
Yeah. So again, saying just dhikrullah, like the recitation of Quran, that would be the best way forward. Okay, the next point, halaq or taqsir. Now, after you finish your sa'i, so remember, Umrah means the tawaf, which we've done, the sa'i, which we've done. The next thing you do is the halaq or taqsir. So you shave your hair or you even trim your hair. Let's have a look at the text. So he said, then when you finish the 7th lap upon Marwa, you shave the hair of your head, thus ending the Umrah. Women trim their hair the length of a finger joint, which I'll let the sisters next door explain that. And everything that becomes forbidden to you upon entering Ihram now becomes permissible again. You remain in the state of Hill, I being at the state of Ihram until the day of Tarwiyah, 8th of Zulhijjah. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, obviously the way to release yourself from Ihram is by shaving your hair, by doing halaq or taqsir. So when you do halaq or taqsir, by shaving your hair, this is how you come out of the state of Ihram. Now, how would you shave your hair? So the way you will do it is by either you can, and a lot of people take the hair machine with them. So you can do it that way if you want. Or as you can see from some of the picture there, it's like a line of people. There's a lot of barber shops there as well. Obviously, one of the downside to that is there's a long queue. Everybody's going to be there. So it's a very long queue. So you'll probably be waiting hours just to get haircuts. So I know what a lot of people do is that they probably take a machine themselves and just get it cut. I think one thing you could do is that have a haircut before you go, so when it's kind of less anyway your hair, and then afterwards what you can do if you want to take a machine, then you could just basically do it yourself and just trim off the remaining hair or shave off the remaining hair. So again, it just depends on the situation. Some obviously will want to have it long and then shave it off properly. It just depends on what you basically wish for, inshallah. Okay. So then you remain in the state of Ihram, in the state of Hill, meaning out of Ihram until the 8th of Zulhijjah. Now this is, remember, going back to what I said. If you're doing Tamattu Hajj, you're not out of Ihram. If you're doing Qiran Hajj, that's it, you're not out of Ihram. So for you, this doesn't really apply. So after doing the Sa'i, that's it, still in Ihram. If you're doing Ifrad Hajj, same thing as well. After you Tawaf Qudum, you're not out of Ihram. After you do Tawaf Qudum, you're not out of Ihram. So after you do the Tawaf Qudum, you're still basically going to be in the state of Ihram and these things, yeah? So do you understand, inshallah? Do you have any questions on that before we move on to the...
With regards to Sahih, do I need to look for that?
Yeah, it's sunnah to have wudu. Not condition. It's not as a stringent condition like with Tawaf, isn't it? It's good to have wudu. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next part. No. Because after Qiran, you're not allowed to basically, you're not allowed to still in Ihram, aren't you, Brother Ajmal? So you can't, no. So after you do Umrah, it's in Ihram. It's only those who are doing Tamattu. Okay. Now the next point you mentioned is regarding Miah. Yeah, regarding the 5 days of Hajj. Now, let me just explain very quickly. So now, if you are in Ifrad Hajj, so you're going to be in Ihram all the way until the 8th of Zulhijjah, so that's fine. If you are doing Qiran Hajj, you're also in the stage of Ihram all the way until 8th of Zulhijjah. If you're doing Tamattu, now obviously you're already out of Ihram. So now what you need to do is, on the 8th or most likely on the 7th, that night before, the day before, you kind of like, do the same procedure like we mentioned at the beginning of the PowerPoint presentation. Do the same procedure, and now you enter into the state of Ihram for Hajj. Now, do we have to travel to Tan'im? The answer is no, because you're not doing Umrah, you're doing Hajj. So you can put on your Ihram from your hotels in Makkah. So basically what people will do is they'll have the shower in the hotel, put on the Ihram clothes again. Because remember before that, they're probably wearing jubbas and normal clothes. Remember, after you have Ihram, you can wear normal clothes. These things are totally fine. So then they'll put on the Ihram. So they'll have a shower, remove hair. What we touched on before, cut the nails. So they'll basically go into, they'll put on the Ihram clothes on. Again, they probably won't make intention. They'll come into the Haram. And when they come into the Haram, what they would do is they'll read the 2 rakat salah and make the intention of Hajj. So that's how we will inshallah work here. So just very obviously, we'll go on to the 5 days of Hajj. So what will happen is 8th of Zulhijjah. So these are the key days here. So we go to Miah in the morning of 8th of Zulhijjah. It's known in Arabic as Yawm al-Tarwiyah. So the sunnah is you pray your Fajr 8th of Zulhijjah in Makkah. And then you make your way out towards Miah. What nowadays, again, those who are going Hajj for the first time, what nowadays will happen is that they actually take you for Umrah. They'll actually take you to Miah the night before. So what will happen is that you pray your Isha, say on the 7th of Zulhijjah, and then they'll start putting you into the coaches, buses to take you towards Miah. So again, what is the Sunnah? The Sunnah obviously is to pray Fajr in Makkah and then go. So it's up to you. If you're young enough, if you're healthy enough, what you could do is say, I'm going to go by myself. So that's a lot of brothers do that and just pray their Fajr in Makkah and then they'll walk towards Miah. But obviously, if you're going with women folk, wives, children, parents, elders, then obviously for them to walk there will be difficult. And I did say this before as well. Listen to your Amir. So if your Amir is saying that, oh look, we want to go early because of administration reasons, because it's good to go early because you could then get your mattress or your bedding there. You could settle yourself down, pray your Fajr after Fajr, you could rest. So same thing there as well, inshallah. So you pray your Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Fajr in their times. Now 8th of Zulhijjah is a good day because you're not doing any particular rituals. So you're just mainly going to be in the tent. There isn't a masjid. I think there is a masjid in Miah, but no one really goes there because you can't fit everyone there. So what happens, everybody just prays in the tent. So you've probably seen pictures of massive tents. There'll be 8, 9 brothers, 10 brothers in one tent. Obviously sisters will have their own, brothers will have their own. So you just do your own Jamaat in these tents. So think of it to be like these rooms which we have here, classrooms. There'll be 10 brothers here, 10 brothers there. Sometimes the 2 tents may join up together. So they may make a space in the middle, and then. But what normally happens, each tent will just do their own Jamaat together. They'll sleep there, they'll rest there, they'll eat there, and so on. So 8th of Zulhijjah, it's not that difficult. You pray your Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr in those times. And the next thing is use your time to gather your thoughts and prepare for the next day, on the day of Arafah. Okay, so just time for you to reflect, do some ibadah, do some worship, and so on. He goes on to explain, note the prayer times from Makkah, otherwise you may pray Salah in the incorrect times. Because you need to remember that you may not Yeah, you may not, like there's no adhan per se. Does that make sense? There's no adhan. So you may not know whether you are, which time you're praying your respective salat. So it's good that you kind of like know what time exactly the prayers is, and you kind of pray accordingly in that situation. G. Next, are you a musafir? Become question. So do you know in Mina, are you a traveler? Yes or no? Because if you are a traveler, because remember, there's going to be, you're not praying behind the Imam of the Haram there. You're just praying amongst yourself. The 10 brothers will be just praying amongst themselves. So do you pray 2 rakats for Fajr, Asr, so 2 rakats for Zuhr, Asr, and Isha? Or do you pray 4? So it all depends on how many days were you in Makkah before you went to Mina. So if you were in Makkah for 15 days or more, so you're considered to be a mukim, like a resident. So therefore in Mina, you will then have to pray full prayers. But the likelihood is because no one's really going to be in Makkah for 15 days or more because the packages don't really work like that. Maximum will be like a week. So the likelihood is you're going to be in Makkah Mukarramah as a traveler. So therefore what you need to do is, when you're in Mina, you then pray 2 rakats for Dhuhr, Asr, and for Isha. Okay, so that's what happens on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah. Also, there's something else we do on that day known as Takbir al-Tashriq. Yeah, Takbir al-Tashriq. It's different from the Talbiyah. Takbir al-Tashriq is Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. We read that even when we are residents in Birmingham, we still do that, don't we? Yeah. So Takbir al-Tashriq starts from the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, from Fajr. It starts and it ends at Asr on the 13th of Dhul-Hijjah. So that will be recited in Mina, whether you're in Hajj, it doesn't matter, that continues as normal. So this is like a reminder for brothers not to forget that. Obviously, you won't really forget it because a lot of people will be there reminding you of these things. These are just some pictures of the boundaries, telling you where you can't, like where Mina ends, where Mina starts. So all that is mentioned. The interior view. Again, it's all different. You may have different settings. These are just like pictures now. Arafah and so on. So let's go to Arafah. Map, website map for Arafah. Some rules here. So after sunrise of the day of Arafah. So remember, 8th of Dhul-Hijjah was just like a relaxation day. Yeah? So 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, day of Arafah, you will depart for Arafah whilst making talbiyah or takbir. So Arafah 9th of Dhul-Hijjah. So after sunrise, day of Arafah, you will depart for Arafah whilst reciting talbiyah or takbir. So you leave Mina to go to Arafah. You reach Arafah, probably just before Dhuhr, and you pray your Zuhr and your Asr there. Would you combine your prayers or not? Again, it depends on what school of thought you follow. In the Hanafi fiqh, we say no. So you pray Zuhr and Asr in its own time, unless you're praying behind the Imam in Masjid al-Nabila. Whereas other schools of thought say that yes, you can combine your prayers, Zuhr and Asr in Arafah, even if you're praying in your tents. Again, what normally will happen is not that many people, well, some people do go to the Masjid al-Namira, but many won't. They'll just pray the Zuhr and Asr in their tents. So in that case, Hanafi followers will just pray Zuhr and Asr in its own individual times. Zuhr at the beginning, and afterwards you pray your Asr. What do you do on the day of Arafah? Like, is there a particular ritual? The key thing is what is known as the wukuf. You probably heard of that term. So wukuf, generally speaking, means to kind of like worship Allah. And the term wukuf is very important because wukuf means to stand in a way. So in other words, you're kind of like worshipping Allah and you're basically standing throughout in a way. Think of it to be like that. That's what you're doing. You're basically standing throughout that period. Obviously, when you get tired, then you could sit down. And then afterwards, when you regain that strength, or as I say, like the second wind, then you could basically then stand up and continue what? Reciting doing ibadah. What do you do in a wukuf? So basically the wukuf is mainly just doing ibadat, remembering Allah, making dua, reciting Quran, praying to Allah, raising your hands. That's what it is. So stand facing the Qibla, raising your hands, making dua, reciting talbiyah. So obviously you could have like a few minutes of reciting talbiyah. Then afterwards you could just like do a few minutes of making dua. Afterwards you could have a few minutes of just basic recitation of Quran. These things. So it's all for your for your rectifications in Islam. So inshallah you can do that. Prophet ﷺ said, the best thing that I and the prophets have said on the evening of Arafat is La ilaha illallah, la sharika lahu, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. He's saying that the best dua to make is this particular dua. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so when you're leaving Arafah, now when the sun has set, so you're there all the way until Maghrib. So when it's Maghrib time, or when the sun has set, you then make your way towards Muzdalifah. Remember, brothers and sisters, or brothers, you don't pray any Maghrib in Arafah. No Maghrib. You pray Maghrib in Muzdalifah. That's one of the rituals. So no Maghrib is prayed in Arafah. So what you do is, when the sun sets, we leave Arafah for Muzdalifah. Going with calmness and tranquility. In other words, aram se, like without jostling, without pushing people. Let's go aram se. Obviously, you may want to go with the coach. Again, if you're with women, then perhaps that would be a good idea. If you by yourself, or even if your wife is able to walk for that long, inshallah, then you can even walk it as well. Yeah, so it's not that far, so you can actually walk it. But again, if you're not sure, if you think you're going to get lost, then just best to just stick with the group and so on. Yeah. So you leave for Arafah. So again, you've got the map again, bird's eye view of Arafah and Muzdalifah. Yep, that's Muzdalifah. So what happens? Muzdalifah. Yeah, so when reaching Muzdalifah, you pray Maghrib, then Isha, and join the two prayers. So in other words, you pray the Maghrib and Isha both in the Isha time. You do not pray anything between them. So there should be no prayers in between. So you pray your Maghrib, and then straight away you Isha. Not like Maghrib and then pray your Sunnats, and then Isha. Now you pray between. Nothing in between. You can pray your Sunnats on Maghrib and Isha Sunnats and the Witr afterwards. But in between should be like Maghrib straight first, and then straight away you Isha. You should collect the pebbles here. So it was verified Sunnah to collect the pebbles there. Then you sleep until Fajr. Remember, there's no tents there. You can see from the pictures. These are just people sleeping, by the way. There's no tents. So it's literally, there's no roof. Let's see, the sky is the roof then. So you just see people just find some spot and just sleep there. Obviously, you get the sleeping bag. People will just, it's going to be tiring day. So people will pray the Isha, and afterwards, if there's anything to eat, they'll eat, and then they'll literally put themselves into their sleeping bag, and then they'll go to sleep. So you sleep until Fajr. You pray Fajr at the beginning of its time. As soon as Fajr time starts. So again, you know through the timings, even nowadays, everybody's got mobile data, internet data, so you kind of know, you can even look on Google when is Fajr time in Muzdalifah, when is Fajr time in Saudi. So you should pray your Fajr at the beginning time. And remember everyone, because everyone's going to be there People will be making adhan. So you will wake up. Okay, so it's not like, oh, am I going to miss my fajr? That won't be possible. People, remember, everyone's just there, so there'll be noise. You won't be able to have a good sleep. Depends. If you're really knackered and tired, you probably will doze off and probably sleep for a few hours. But in terms of missing fajr, I don't think so that will be feasible because everyone will be there, inshallah. Now, what will happen is that after you pray your fajr beginning time, yeah, then you do the next part. You arrive to Mina the morning of the 10th of Zulhijjah. You arrive Mina, morning of the 10th of Zulhijjah. This is the busiest day of Hajj. You will have to do the following 4 things. Okay. So after you pray your Fajr in Muzdalifah, you should then leave Muzdalifah, I got to mention, before sunrise. So before sunrise, you leave Muzdalifah. Then you arrive at Mina, morning of 10th of Zulhijjah. Then, as this is the busiest day because you should do these 4 rituals, which is stoning the Jamara, the big shaitan, as they say. Sacrifice an animal, again, if you're doing Tamattu Hajj, Qiran Hajj. Number 3, shave or trim off your hair. So again, even if you're doing, obviously if you're doing Qiran Hajj, then obviously you're going to shave. That shaving is for you. Release yourself from the Umrah and the Hajj. And even those doing Tamattu, they'll shave their hair. Those who are doing Ifrad, they'll also shave their hair as well. And point number 4 is you go to Makkah to do Tawaf Ziyarat and Sa'i, and you come back to Mina. Now these 3 things can be done in Mina, yeah? Stoning the Jamara, that's done in Mina. Sacrificing the animal. Obviously, sacrifice the animal, you just have to get the confirmation from your Hajj operator that he's doing the Qurbani. Again, it just depends. Sometimes the Qurbani is not part of the package, and you have to make those arrangements yourself here. And number 4 is to go to Makkah to do Tawaf Ziyarat and Sa'i, and then come back to Mina. And the 4th thing you have to do is from Mina, and best thing will be that you walk it. 3 miles away is Makkah. So you walk to Makkah, you do your Tawaf Ziyarat, you do your Sa'i, and then you have to come back to Mina in the night. So as you can see, it's a very tough day, challenging day.
You can walk from Makkah from there.
Yeah.
3 miles.
3 miles.
Assuming
Because the code, you'll see it's going to be hectic. A lot of people just walk it.
how long does that take with Hajj traffic?
Just over an hour. A lot of people will do that because you see that there's so many people. So what's going to happen is everyone's going to do the Jamara, and then that's it. Everybody's just going to make the way. You see, just to go back to your tent to wait for transport. It'll just be chaos. Yes, a lot of people just walk it. It'll be much quicker. Okay. Again, if you look at the next slide, this is like wajib in the Hanafi fiqh, is to stone. No, after you shave, but remember, you have to wait for the sacrifice of the Qurbani is done. So after you shave, you're not in the state right now. Okay? So you won't be able to have relations with your wife. That will only be after you do the Tawaf Ziyarat. The things like perfume, sewn clothing, wearing jubbah, all these things will be allowed. So if you look at the order, so this is like what we call the order of the Hajj. Yeah? So the order is Jamara, you do Tawaf, so you stone the Jamara Aqaba. Number 2 is that you sacrifice the animal. And number 3 is you shave or you trim your hair. If this order is broken, if this tartib order is broken, then you have to give a dam. This is what the Hanafis say, because order is considered to be wajib. So if this order is broken, the dam will become wajib. Okay. Then again, some rules here. On the 10th of Zulhijjah, you stone the Jamra Aqaba, the big one, only on this day, with 7 small stones, slightly bigger than the chickpea. You recite takbir whilst throwing each stone. So whilst you're throwing each stone in the Jamarat, you say Allahu Akbar. You cease reciting talbiyah when throwing the first stone. So remember, up to that point, you're going to be reciting talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. So as soon as you throw the first stone, that's when the talbiyah will stop. And then he said, you cannot perform the stoning from before sunrise. So you can't do it when before sunrise.
Before sunrise, well, probably be traveling from
Muzdalifah anyway. Yeah, so, and you may delay it afternoon, even up to the night, if you find difficult in doing it before. Obviously, sunnah is to do it after sunrise. But if there's too many people, because everybody will want to do it then, so that they make sure that they kind of like go to Makkah straight away, and then they can do the tawaf or whatever, shave their hair and so on. So he's saying that you cannot perform the stoning from before sunrise, but you can delay it afterwards if you can't do it. So even after noon, if you want to delay all the way until the night, then that's also correct as well. As I said, there's only a few slides left, inshallah. So then these are just some more pictures of the Jamara. Again, these are slightly old pictures. I think it's much dated now. They've got around 5 floors of the Jamara. So again, these are just more pictures. Again, you won't miss that this is a Jamara. Yeah? So again, everything is written in English. You probably see from some of the signs, written in Arabic and English. So alhamdulillah, it shouldn't be a problem. And 10th of Dhul Hijjah, as I said, is you slaughter your animal in any part of Mina or Makkah. Remember, if you're doing Tamattu, Hajj or Qiran, you have to sacrifice. So you sacrifice an animal in any part of Mina or Makkah. The time for slaughter are the 4 days of Eid. So in other words, you can basically slaughter any of the 4 days. Obviously, you do it in the 10th, but if you didn't, then you could do it all the way up to the 13th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Obviously, you should do it on the first day, because you need to follow the order. But if you did it for some reason, and you did the tawaf, so you did the sacrifice on the 13th, then that would be correct as well. But because of the delay, you will have to give a penalty. Okay. 7 people may share in 1 camel or cow. So you don't have to sacrifice an entire cow or camel. You could have 7 family members are going. They could just sacrifice a cow, and that would be their qurbani for the Hajj done. Rami must be done before you sacrifice. And then it's in order. So you have to pelt the Jamara first, then sacrifice. And you will only shave or trim your hair once your sacrifice has been done.
So the Rami is out in the
Yeah, that's the Arabic word, yeah. And you'll only shave or trim your hair once your sacrifice has been done. Okay. Again, the next paragraph is similar. Once you have shaved or trimmed your hair, you have come out of ihram. Like you can delay all the way to the 13th, but the thing with the Mansoor is that you then can't shave your hair then all the way to the 13th. Does that make sense? So if you shave your hair on the 10th, but then you sacrifice on the 13th, you have to give a double. So technically, yes, you can you can sacrifice all the way to the 13th, but then things like your shaving will then have to wait all the way to the 13th. But it is preferable to do it on that first day. Okay, as you can see from the next paragraph or slide, once you have shaved or trimmed your hair, you have come out of ihram. Everything is halal for you except sexual relations with one's wife. That will only become lawful after tawaf ziyarah. So you're kind of out of ihram, but in a way you're only partially out of ihram. You come completely out of ihram after you've done your tawaf ziyarah. That's why he says you will be fully released from ihram once the tawaf ziyarah has been done.
You mentioned tawaf ziyarah will be done on the 20th, you can do it on the 11th and 12th.
Yeah, you can do it in the days as well. Okay, and the next part is said, then you go off that day to Makkah and make tawaf in the same way as in the tawaf of Umrah. Forward. You pray 2 rakats behind the Maqam Ibrahim. Okay, So again, all straightforward. So you then do the tawaf ziyarat after you've done your shaving, pray 2 rakats behind Maqam Ibrahim. Now this is the key thing. If this tawaf is followed by sa'i, then ramal, by marching in the first 3 circuits, and istiba, uncovering of the right shoulder, will also be done if in ihram for men only. Now, if after this tawaf ziyarat you're going to be doing sa'i, then you will have to do ramal in the first 3 rounds. And istiba only if you are in ihram. So let's look at it practically. Because what would happen is, after you do your tawaf ziyarat, if you, like, the likelihood is that you're already going to be out of ihram already because you shaved your head. So most likely you're not going to be wearing ihram. So you just wear your normal jubbah. So if in that tawaf ziyarat you are going to be doing a sa'i afterwards, remember after every tawaf ziyarat, yeah, I think your wife is asking how long. Just say another 10 minutes.
Oh, my wife.
Yeah, sister's asking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whenever it ends.
okay, that's fine. Okay, yeah, we'll finish in 10 minutes. So he says here that if the tawaf is followed by sa'i, so I said the likelihood is that you're going to be in jubbah, wearing jubbah, so you don't have to do istiba. Remember, istiba is only if you're wearing the ihram clothes. So you don't have to like take your, show your arms out of your jubbah or anything. So what you do is that you still do ramal. So you have to do ramal. But istiba will only be done if you're in ihram. Again, some of you may be thinking, well, how can you be in ihram? Because you're going to be out of ihram. The thing is, do not tawaf ziyarat. It's mustahab to do it after shaving the hair. It can be done before. Some people do it before. Like, they basically do the rami first, and then whilst they get confirmation that the qurban is done, they'll just go and do their tawaf ziyarat first. So if they're doing tawaf ziyarat with the ihram clothes on, then yes, they will have to do istiba. And then they'll do ramal. But I think for the majority of us, we are going to be in our jubbah. So in that situation, ramal will be what we call it sufficient, and we don't have to do istiba.
Why would anyone do say after tawaf?
Yeah, because remember, after every tawaf, like first tawaf, whether it's tawaf umrah or tawaf, you have to do sa'i.
Okay, so I have to do that.
Yeah.
As part of my health.
Yeah. If it's nafil tawaf, then there's no sa'i. So you basically, not sure whether this. Well, basically, like after tawaf umrah, you have to just. So remember, any first tawaf, so that's tawaf umrah, you have to do sa'i. That's what we explained before. After tawaf ziyarah, you also have to do sa'i as well. Okay. It's only the nafil tawafs. Like say, for example, someone doing tawaf qudum, which I mentioned, the Mufti does. The person in ifrat, he doesn't have to do sa'i. He could do if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Everybody understood that? So remember, after every first tawaf, you have to do it. That's what it is.
And there's, I'll be doing that straight away. And do my tawaf.
And then the sa'i.
There's no playing 2 rakat behind.
Yeah. You still have to do the maqam. That's still there. Okay, so you are now completely. Okay, let's just do the. Okay, then you do sa'i. Okay, let's just have a look at this one first. Then you do sa'i between Safa and Marwa as before. Okay, I already told you. Drink from the Zamzam, you return to Miah. You are now completely free from the restrictions of ihram. Yeah, because remember, when you shaved your head, relation with your wife, and when I said relation, I'm not just talking about intercourse, even like kissing, touching, these things were still unlawful. But after you've done your tawaf ziyarat, you are now completely free from the restrictions of ihram.
Non-intimate.
Yeah, intimate touching. Yeah. The non-intimate's okay. So you want now complete free from restrict ihram. If this tawaf is not performed, you will not become halal, and will have to return and do this tawaf. Does that make sense? So basically, that tawaf is like a must. If you don't do it, you just remain in the stage of ihram forever. So that means like any kind of like relations you have, there will be a penalty which you have to give. Because that's the only thing which is like the only restriction left. If you don't do tawaf, the only restriction left is the intimacy. So that will be that restriction will remain forever. So anytime you have relations, until you do tawaf, there will be like a dam which you have to give, a penalty which you have to give. In the next few slides, again, it's kind of straightforward. Just talks about the remaining days, 11, 12, 13. So it just talks about the Rami days here. Because, the rest of the days are just basically Rami now, 11, 12, 13. So you stay in Mina for the days of Tashriq and the nights. So days of Tashriq are 11, 12, and 13. It's preferable to stay in Mina during these days than going to Makkah. This is Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, so you spend the night there. So I know some people go back to Makkah and the hotels, but it's against the Sunnah. And also Rami times for 11th and 12th are from Zawal to Subh Sadiq of the next day. So the 11th and 12th, if you're going to do Rami, you do it from Zawal. Zawal means midday time, all the way until following day, Fajr. But Rami time for the 13th is from Zawal all the way until sunset only, all the way until Maghrib. And this day is only optional. Because remember, you don't have to stay for the 13th. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. So you don't have to stay for the 13th. Okay, and then the last slide I think we have. Yeah, just straightforward. Just do this next slide about Tawaf al-Wida. So again, the last thing we do is Tawaf al-Wida. So when you finish the tawaf, you leave the masjid like the rest of people, not walking backwards. This tawaf is wajib, and if missed, dam will become wajib. So this tawaf is like a farewell tawaf. So it's wajib that you do it. And it goes on to explain that if you miss it, then what will happen is that you then have to do the, if you miss it, then you'll have to do the tawaf, and so you will have to give a dam and a penalty. Women in their periods are permitted to miss this tawaf. So women in the periods that time, they can miss that. We should try and make this our final tawaf, make it as our final ritual before we leave. So remember, it just depends when you're leaving in. So if you're leaving for Medina a week later, so we just do that at the end. And we should try and make this our final tawaf. And if we have done any nafil tawaf after the Hajj, this will suffice if we miss the tawaf with that. It could be the case that after we finished our Hajj, let's say we've been in Makkah for another week. And during that time, we did plenty of nafil tawafs. Every day we used to go and do tawaf. And this is something, obviously you plan to do the farewell tawaf on the last day before you leave. But this is something happened last year that you couldn't do the tawaf with the army. You fell ill, you fell sick, and you couldn't do it. But before that and after the Hajj finished, you did plenty of nafil tawafs. So the rule is that the nafil tawafs which you completed before, so which you did the nafil tawafs before the actual tawaf with that will be classed as the nafil tawaf that will be considered like as a substitute of tawaf with that. Okay. And the last part is, inshallah, the end. And the last one is our Hajj, inshallah. Any questions? It's been a long session, but any questions? Obviously, you brothers, I know Brother Tamim, you could just keep in contact. So Brother Tamim, you should, I'm not sure about anything, inshallah. Brother Tamim to ask me, inshallah. Locally or? Not too far.
I've basically gone through similar presentations.
Presentations,
But little
yeah.
details. That's what
Obviously, I'm assuming you're going with which tour group you're going with. Is a sheikh? What's a sheikh there?
I hope so.
Yeah, they would be.
Called Hajj tours in Manchester.
Actually, I'm sure they probably have a sheikh. Inshallah, accept all your Hajj, inshallah. You will do, inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, inshallah. Inshallah, you better just keep in contact with Brother Tamim, inshallah. If you have any questions, then I'm sure Brother Tamim will kind of mention it. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.